flashed in Jiang Minghui's eyes as his gaze locked onto the culprit. He spoke, "Jiang Qianxia, explain why you broke Mingcha's clay doll." His voice was as frosty as ice. However, Jiang Qianxia's reaction was beyond his expectations. Her gaze was calm yet carried a hint of mockery, unyielding, and even made him feel an unprecedented sense of determination, as if the unique spirit of the Jiang family flowed within her. Jiang Minghui's heart trembled, but his anger burned even hotter. Her courage was misplaced, leaving him disappointed. A low-pressure atmosphere began to envelop him. However, Jiang Qianxia seemed completely unaware. Following the original owner's memory, she coldly repeated the words Jiang Minghui had said. When Jiang Mingcha broke her handmade clay doll, "It's just a handmade clay doll. I didn't do it on purpose. Is it worth being so upset about?" The corners of her mouth curved into a faint, ambiguous smile. Jiang Minghui was momentarily stunned, his anger dissipated by that familiar tone. Why did this sentence sound so familiar? Just as he was pondering, Jiang Qianxia teased again. TSK. Could this guy be about to act like a double-standard hypocrite? Back when the original host's clay doll was deliberately broken by Jiang Mingcha, this was exactly what he said to the original host, even telling them to be more magnanimous. Now, is he going to turn into a petty person? Besides, I really didn't do it on purpose. Forget it, no need to explain. The original owner probably wanted to break it on purpose. Hiss. But judging by how much the Jiang family cares about the original owner, this brother probably doesn't even remember the casual biased things he said, right? Jiang Minghui's brow twitched violently as he looked at Jiang Qianxia, only to find her tightly pursing her lips and rolling her eyes, as if to ask, "Do you have a problem? What is going on?" Did he just hear Jiang Qianxia's inner thoughts? Jiang Minghui suppressed his faint astonishment and looked at Jiang Qianxia again, confirming that her mouth was tightly closed, yet the voice continued. "Why is this guy looking at me?" Jiang Qianxia glanced at the secretary beside her and suddenly understood. "Oh, right, I have to hide my identity in front of the secretary. Otherwise, his beloved Mingcha sister will cry, and I'd be the one tearing off the mask." TSK, what a hypocritical good brother. The veins on Jiang Minghui's temple throbbed. How had he never noticed this sharp-tongued and stubborn side of his younger sister before? Hearing her inwardly curse him as a hypocritical good brother, he almost couldn't help but burst out laughing. But for some reason, upon hearing her completely different inner thoughts, a strange sense of defiance suddenly surged in his heart. He decided to stay silent and see how else she dared to scold him. However, when Jiang Qianxia saw him silent, she began to curiously size him up, sighing inwardly. Sigh, no wonder the original owner wanted to leave this world, to leave a place with family. In front of Jiang Mingcha, there's that silly Jiang Mingxiu, obedient to her every command. Behind her is the cold-faced elder brother, biased and protective, and further back, there's a whole line of Jiang family members shielding her. To the original owner, the Jiang family were family, yet they caused her more pain than enemies. Forget it, what a hassle. The original owner didn't care anyway. I need to quickly find a way to sever ties with the Jiang family. Just as her thoughts were racing, the eldest brother of the Jiang family heard this, and his expression immediately changed. Jiang Qianxia, do you know what you're saying? He suspected that Jiang Qianxia had a mental problem, feeling a wave of doubt in his heart. What kind of nonsense about the original owner, what leaving the world, and even severing ties with the Jiang family? It sounded as if she had become a completely different person. Actually, she did seem somewhat like a different person. Jiang Minghui couldn't help but secretly size up Jiang Qianxia, noticing that she seemed completely different from head to toe, and his brows furrowed even tighter. Could it be that Jiang Qianxia had developed a split personality? The secretary didn't hear Jiang Qianxia's inner thoughts and only assumed that her boss was displeased by her earlier words. She quickly stepped forward to chime in. "Miss Jiang, basic manners. Didn't your parents teach you that? Clearly, you were in the wrong, so how can you speak like this?" Jiang Qianxia had already decided to sever ties with the Jiang family. She glanced at the solemn-faced Jiang family elder brother and decided to add fuel to the fire, shrugging nonchalantly. "Sorry, my parents really didn't teach me." She knew that the Jiang family elder brother was a righteous and traditional man, filial and compassionate, and therefore cared most about his younger sister Jiang Mingcha and the Jiang family parents. Although the original owner's biological mother, Jiang mother, was only the elder brother's stepmother, he had always treated her with the respect of a biological mother. So, Jiang Qianxia thought about it and felt quite satisfied. Not bad, I just deliberately broke his precious little sister's clay doll and embarrassed his cherished parents. He should be really angry, right? Sigh, Jiang Minghui is too old-fashioned. I guess he can't directly kick me out of the Jiang family. Do I still need to find time to visit the Jiang family again? Looking at the woman's brazen demeanor, the thought of her planning to sever ties with his family echoed in his ears. The eldest brother of the Jiang family frowned, his gaze suspiciously sizing up Jiang Qianxia. When he first heard that she wanted to sever ties with the Jiang family, he was simply furious, thinking she was being reckless again. However, when he discovered that she was genuinely making detailed plans, he felt an inexplicable discomfort in his heart. Ever since this younger sister was brought back, he believed he had never treated her unfairly, feeding her with good food and drink. Isn't it much better than when she had just returned from the countryside? Why is it that in her heart, the Jiang family members who saved her from dire straits are all heinous sinners? No wonder she's been like a hedgehog all these years, treating everyone sharply. The secretary, seeing Jiang Qianxia's attitude and Jiang Minghui's sullen silence, was about to step forward to continue criticizing her, but unexpectedly, Jiang Minghui raised his hand to stop her. "Please leave first." The secretary was stunned, glanced at Jiang Qianxia in surprise, but dared not voice any objection. She respectfully withdrew and gently closed the door behind her. After the secretary left, Jiang Minghui no longer concealed his expression and looked at Jiang Qianxia with a probing gaze. Noticing the scrutinizing look from her elder brother of the Jiang family, Jiang Qianxia remained completely unafraid. While planning in her mind how to provoke him, she raised her eyes to meet his gaze. That defiant look made Jiang Minghui pause for a moment. He suddenly recalled a scene he had never thought of before, the clay doll. At that time, Jiang Qianxia had just been brought back to the Jiang family. Having lived in the countryside and never seen much of the world, her eyes were filled with longing when she saw children by the roadside playing with colorful clay dolls. However, Jiang's mother wanted her to integrate into the wealthy family as soon as possible and rejected her request. The thin, dark-skinned girl looked at him with a stubborn yet pleading gaze, asking for his help. But since his thoughts aligned with Zhang's mother, he also refused. Thinking back to that moment, he saw with his own eyes the light in her eyes dim instantly. He didn't care and couldn't understand what was so important about the roadside stall's clay dolls. Later, Ming-cha saw that she really wanted it, so she acted spoiled toward Mother Jiang and eventually got permission. Both of them picked a clay doll. So that night, when he saw Jiang Qianxia get so angry at Jiang Mingcha over accidentally breaking a clay doll, he became furious. If it weren't for Jiang Mingcha speaking up for her, she wouldn't even have had the chance to touch the clay doll. This incident made Jiang Minghui feel that his younger sister was somewhat ungrateful, and from then on, he harbored a sense of estrangement towards her. Even now, looking into the same pair of eyes, her appearance has undergone a complete transformation, showing no trace of humility or timidity. Those eyes radiate dazzling brilliance. She now appears more noble than many wealthy heiresses in the circle. Jiang Minghui suddenly realized that over the years, the sister he thought of as a hedgehog no longer showed the admiration, closeness, or even the flattering expressions she once had. Those resentments also disappeared. That ungrateful, willful and crazy younger sister no longer exists. That light could no longer be extinguished because of him. Jiang Minghui did not know what this meant, but the words he had prepared to have a good talk with Jiang Qianxia suddenly failed him. Jiang Qianxia had no idea what was wrong with the other person. Just as she was planning to continue courting disaster, the office door was pushed open again. The visitor turned out to be Jiang Mingcha. Caught off guard by the sudden appearance of the person the original host disliked the most, Jiang Qianxia couldn't help but be influenced by the host's memories and thought to herself, what bad luck. Jiang Minghui's gaze turned cold, and then he heard it again. But that's fine, Jiang Green Tea is here. It'll be even easier to anger this double-standard dog. As long as it makes Jiang Mingcha cry, it's enough. Jiang Minghui's expression subtly stiffened, but fortunately, he was a man of few expressions to begin with, so even Jiang Mingcha didn't notice anything unusual about him. Thinking about how the other person was cursing him as a double-standard dog and biased in their heart, he decided to be fair for once and show her. He has never been biased, he simply distinguishes right from wrong. After the secretary left, no one cleaned up the shattered clay on the floor. In fact, Jiang Mingcha had already learned from the secretary about the clay doll being broken by Jiang Qianxia before she came in. However, she deliberately pretended not to see it. Big brother, Qianxia, you're here too? Speaking, she walked in like a host. Qianxia, why didn't you call to let me know you were coming? Jiang Qianxia lifted her eyelids and glanced at the fake heiress who had stolen the original owner's affection, her heart trembling. Strange, the third person whose fate I can't discern has arrived. Though surprised in her heart, Jiang Qianxia didn't hesitate to sneer coldly. Call you to let you know, so you can stop me from coming to see your dear big brother in advance? Jiang Mingcha looked at her in disbelief. When did Jiang Qianxia become so straightforward? She was genuinely shocked. But these words are even more outrageous than her previous shyness. Wouldn't big brother be even angrier? This fool, can she turn the tables in her favor? Jiang Mingcha felt secretly pleased, but on the surface, she bit her lip in grievance and showed an innocent expression as she looked at the eldest brother of the Jiang family, softly explaining, big brother, that's not what I meant. Seeing Jiang Mingcha's grievance, the eldest brother of the Jiang family instinctively wanted to defend her. However, remembering that Jiang Qianxia was secretly scheming to make Jiang Mingcha cry in order to prove his double standards, he took a deep breath. Suddenly, he heard a roar in his heart. Holy crap, I get it now. Understanding the original owner, becoming the original owner. Jiang Green Tea is acting so fake, I just want to slap both of them hard. Jiang family's eldest brother? Although he had long noticed Jiang Qianxia's hostility toward Jiang Mingcha, why did she suddenly want to target him? Could it be that Jiang Qianxia really has a split personality, and this new personality is completely unrestrained? The next second, his confusion was explained. This Jiang Green Tea's acting is really terrible, yet the Jiang family always believes her. This must be the true source of the original protagonist's despair. Or could it be that they actually see through her but simply choose to be biased? Just as Jiang Qianxia was about to start doubting the Jiang family's intelligence, Jiang Minghui took another deep breath and interrupted. Mincha, she doesn't mean that. The reason he spoke to Jiang Mincha first was that he was afraid he might lose his temper and burst a vein when facing Jiang Qianxia. After speaking, he noticed Jiang Mincha was stunned, her expression seemingly a bit bewildered. A trace of oddness flashed through Jiang Minghui's heart. Why does Mingcha seem a bit disappointed? Jiang Mingcha's expression quickly returned to her understanding and considerate demeanor. Jiang Minghui's heart tightened, suspecting that he might have seen it wrong. He instinctively believed that a person's inner voice wouldn't lie. Could it be that Jiang Qianxia had led him astray? He rubbed his temples in frustration and looked back at Jiang Qianxia. You too, say less. Jiang Qianxia was slightly stunned, glanced at Jiang Minghui, and muttered to herself. Strange, did the sun rise from the west today? Under Jiang Qianxia's curious gaze, Jiang Minghui suddenly realized that his sister's eyes were so lively, pure like a mischievous little kitten. After causing some trouble, she hadn't received the expected scolding and now seemed a bit at a loss. Quite adorable. Jiang Minghui pressed his lips slightly and adjusted his sitting posture, becoming more relaxed. But Jiang Qianxia withdrew her gaze, thinking discontentedly. So this brother isn't blind after all. Then what was he doing before? Always blaming the original host. Jiang Minghui's expression stiffened slightly, and he changed his sitting posture, turning toward another sister. After Mingcha entered, she naturally sat beside him, clearly showing closeness. Meanwhile, ever since Jiang Qianxia sat down, she seemed uncomfortable, shifting several times, and now she was sitting as far away from him as possible. Does she dislike him that much? Jiang Minghui couldn't help but frown. Seeing his displeased expression, Jiang Mingcha's heart tightened. Big brother, what's wrong? At that moment, the phone suddenly rang. Jiang Minghui glanced at it and saw it was his third brother, Jiang Mingxiu, so he answered directly. As soon as the call connected, an urgent voice on the other end asked, Big brother, did you arrange to meet Jiang Qianxia? The Jiang family doesn't have a very good attitude toward Jiang Qianxia right now, especially the third brother Mingxiu. But today, he seems particularly worried about Jiang Qianxia. Jiang Minghui glanced sideways at the girl next to him, who was casually resting her her chin on her hand and lowered his eyelids. Is there something wrong? Upon hearing this, Jiang Mingxiu immediately became a bit anxious. Big brother, have you met her? Jiang Minghui glanced again at the girl across from him, who appeared indifferent, currently meeting. Upon hearing this, Jiang Qianxia and Jiang Mingcha both reacted. Jiang Mingcha had already recognized Jiang Mingxiu's voice. Thinking of his attitude, she couldn't help but purse her lips and look slightly aggrievedly at Jiang Minghui. But he didn't notice, because Jiang Qianxia, however, immediately thought to herself, got it, it's Jiang-san coming to complain, right? Immediately after, she revealed a slightly regretful expression. If I had known, I should have spoken more harshly back then, directly letting Jiang-san go complain. Wouldn't that have gotten me expelled from the Jiang family today? Jiang Minghui took a deep breath, withdrew his gaze from Jiang Qianxia, and listened to Jiang Mingxiu on the other end of the phone, who was rarely pleading on Jiang Qianxia's behalf. A trace of curiosity flashed in his eyes. What exactly did she threaten Jiang Mingxiu with to make him feel the need to report her, only to end up speaking on her behalf? On the other end of the phone, Jiang Mingxiu repeated to brother Jiang the words he had previously said to Jiang Mingcha. The more he spoke, the more guilty he felt. Thinking of this, facing his trusting and admiring elder brother, Jiang Mingxiu couldn't help but voice his thoughts. Brother, do you think our family has been unfair to Jiang Qianxia all these years? Jiang Minghui was slightly taken aback. Why would you think that? Jiang Mingxiu sighed. Ever since she was brought back, I feel like I've never really treated her as a sister. Before, I even thought Jiang Qianxia was always competing with Mingcha for everything, and I really disliked her. But recently, I realized that even though they're both our sisters, one gets whatever she wants with us brothers vying to give it to her, and the other, does she really have to go to such lengths? As he spoke, Jiang Mingxiu paused. Mingcha must have told you, right? The day before yesterday, Jiang Qianxia did threaten me, but his tone carried a hint of hesitation. But these past 2 days, I've been wondering, why did she become such a vicious person? Could it be because we were too harsh on her? You think she seems so pitiful? She actually has to threaten her own brother to get what she wants. And these things are clearly something I could easily give her. Why did I prefer to throw them away rather than give them to her before? After hearing Jiang Mingxiu's reflection, Jiang Minghui felt very surprised. You just realized? Big brother, what do you mean? Jiang Mingxiu did not expect his elder brother to say such a thing, and his expression turned incredulous. Could it be that his elder brother had always known what the consequences of favoritism would be, yet still chose to favor Mingcha? However, he had misunderstood. Jiang Minghui did not think he was being partial. He glanced at Jiang Mingcha, who only drank water incessantly when nervous, and continued speaking to Jiang Mingxiu. Did you not consider these consequences from the very beginning? Although he didn't like Jiang Qianxia, he wouldn't target her. The person in the Jiang family who disliked Jiang Qianxia the most, apart from Jiang's mother, was Jiang Mingxiu. Especially in the first 2 years, Jiang Mingxiu almost always targeted Jiang Qianxia. Even though he couldn't persuade Jiang's mother, he had tried to talk to Mingxiu, but it was to no avail. Later, Jiang Qianxia almost moved out of the Jiang family. The eldest brother's rhetorical question left Jiang Mingxiu stunned. For a moment, he couldn't face his past actions and could only take a deep breath before pleading with Jiang Minghui again. He was worried that Jiang Minghui would be displeased because of Mingcha's rejection, so he repeatedly emphasized Jiang Qianxia's miserable situation in the entertainment industry and her pitiful state. However, to his surprise, Jiang Minghui agreed before even hearing him out. Don't worry, I'm bringing her to the company to sign a contract. Really? Jiang Mingxiu was astonished on the other end of the phone. At this moment, Jiang Minghui noticed that Jiang Mingcha beside him also showed a stunned expression, clearly not expecting him to have Jiang Qianxia sign the contract. However, Jiang Minghui's gaze darkened slightly as he quietly observed Jiang Mingcha, who was forcing a reluctant smile, and his heart sank. He recalled the provocative attitude Mingcha had displayed toward Jiang Qianxia when she entered earlier, followed by her shocked expression when he stopped her. It seemed she hadn't expected him to intervene first. Was it because she knew he would unconditionally defend her? Jiang Minghui couldn't help but think of what Jiang Mingxiu had said earlier. He wasn't naive. A little sibling rivalry was normal. But Mingcha's thoughtfulness and generosity, could they also be less than genuine? Could they be just another tactic in the competition for favor? Just as he was lost in thought, Jiang Mingcha forcibly suppressed her inner displeasure. The stunned look on her face faded, replaced by an expression of relief. That's great, big brother. So you were planning to have Qianxia sign the contract. You scared me. I thought you misunderstood her for bullying me and were going to reprimand her, so I rushed over to explain. Hearing Jiang Mingcha's voice, Jiang Mingxiu on the other end of the phone felt inexplicably guilty and quickly said a few words before hanging up. Jiang Mingcha avoided Jiang Minghui's gaze, her eyes dimming. Tisk tsk tsk, it's just a lousy contract. Does this green tea's expression have to be so gloomy? So what's up with Jiang-san acting crazy? Does he really want big brother to give me the contract? Because he sensed Jiang Qianxia's inner voice, Jiang Minghui instinctively looked toward Jiang Mingcha. Then, for the first time, he saw a dark expression on the face of his pure, kind, angelic sister. He was stunned. Jiang Mingcha reacted extremely quickly, immediately restraining her expression the moment she noticed Jiang Minghui turning his head. If it weren't for Jiang Qianxia's inner voice, which made him notice her gaze right away, Jiang Minghui wouldn't have had time to catch her change in expression. By the time Jiang Mingcha raised her head again, her face was already adorned with a light-hearted and cheerful smile. She glanced at Jiang Minghui, gave a playful grin, and hooked her arm around his. Big brother, you've finally come around to giving Qianxia some resources. That's great. But don't give her anything too lousy, or I won't agree. Jiang Minghui, upon hearing this, couldn't help but wonder if he had been influenced by Jiang Qianxia's inner thoughts. He suddenly remembered that Mingcha had actually suggested giving Jiang Qianxia resources many times. She was indeed very generous. As for him, every time, he would withdraw his support for Jiang Qianxia out of anger. At this moment, Jiang Minghui couldn't help but recall Jiang Mingxiu's words and began to doubt himself. Could it really be that he was too biased? Just then, he heard Jiang Qianxia's inner thoughts again. Tisk tsk tsk, keep pretending. This green tea tactic of retreating to advance is really well practiced. Jiang Minghui's eyes turned cold. Regardless of what Mingcha thought in her heart, at least she was willing to offer some advice on the the surface. In contrast, Jiang Qianxia not only refused to relent verbally but also always interpreted Ming Cha's goodwill as malice. He suddenly remembered why he didn't like Jiang Qianxia, because she never recognized the kindness of others. In that case, the contract originally meant for her would be lowered further. Just as she was thinking this, Jiang Qianxia's voice came again. How should I make Jiang Minghui angry this time? Oh right, I'll say that the green tea glanced secretly several times after entering and is still pretending to be blind. Now is the perfect opportunity, isn't it? Next, I should discover the clay doll on the ground, then tearfully pick it up with a heartbroken expression and ask Big Brother what happened, right? Oh, this time Big Brother with double standards even gave me the contract. The green tea won't cut herself while picking up the clay fragments, will she? Jiang Minghui heard this, took a deep breath, and was about to interrupt Jiang Qianxia's wild thoughts. Suddenly, his arm was gently tugged. Turning around, what met his gaze was a pair of tearful eyes. Jiang Mingcha, with reddened eyes and moist gaze, looked at Jiang Minghui. Big Brother, what's going on? After speaking, she rushed heartbrokenly toward the pile of fragments in front of the treasure shelf. Jiang Minghui recalled Jiang Qianxia's words and instinctively wanted to stop her, but it was already too late. Jiang Mingcha had already squatted down, trying to pick up the fragments with a pained expression. With a hiss, she fell to the ground, her back facing Jiang Minghui. She turned around, and blood was already flowing from her hand. Although Jiang Mingcha acted exactly as Jiang Qianxia had predicted, the moment he saw the blood, Jiang Minghui's worry instantly overshadowed his suspicion. He rushed over and pulled her up. Before he could speak, he heard it again. Hiss, the original owner really didn't lose unjustly. This green tea is truly ruthless, actually using an earring to stab herself and bleed just to frame me. Hiss, too ruthless. Jiang Minghui followed Jiang Qianxia's inner voice and looked over, discovering that one of Jiang Mingcha's earrings was indeed missing. His emotions instantly became indescribably complex. He then looked at Jiang Mingcha's hand and noticed that her other hand was tightly clutching something, cold sweat streaming down her face from the pain. Yet, she still didn't forget to ask him why the clay doll had been broken. She didn't notice Jiang Qianxia and seemed completely unaware that it was she who had broken it. But even in such pain, she was still preoccupied with the clay doll. Could it be that she truly didn't know it was caused by Jiang Qianxia? Is she just like Jiang Qianxia, really willing to harm herself just to make him remember that Jiang Qianxia did something bad and wants him to take back the contract? Noticing Jiang Minghui's unusual reaction, Jiang Mingcha bit her lip and asked him with teary eyes, Big Brother, my wound hurts so much. Will it get infected if it touches this? Hearing this, Jiang Minghui sighed inwardly. Mingcha has been frail since childhood, and getting injured has always been as alarming as a fright for her. It's better to take her to the infirmary to have the wound dressed first. As for the truth of the matter, there is surveillance in his office, so let's talk about it later. If it really is as Jiang Qianxia thinks, then he needs to carefully reflect. No matter what, compensating her is a must. Thinking this, Jiang Minghui pulled Jiang Mingcha and prepared to leave. Unexpectedly, at this moment, he suddenly heard the playful voice of the girl. Oh, the contract is gone. Jiang Minghui's steps paused. He then heard Jiang Qianxia sighing while calculating. Alright, the contract is definitely gone, so should I take this opportunity to cause a big scene? Deep in Big Brother double standards dislike for me, he does have quite a bit of influence in the Jiang family, right? I'll probably have to rely on him to lead the Jiang family in the future. Jiang Minghui suddenly realized that abandoning Jiang Qianxia and leaving with Mingcha was not a wise choice. This girl has a rebellious fire hidden in her heart. Does she really want to lead the Jiang family like this? Would they really tear down his office once he leaves? Big Brother, I'm fine. This wound isn't serious. You have something to say to Qianxia, right? I'm okay. As he spoke, Jiang Mingcha forced himself to stay composed, broke free from Jiang Minghui's hand, and prepared to walk out on his own. His pale little face was clearly in pain, yet he claimed he was fine, even though his hand was still bleeding. This green tea must be completely unaware. Her sensible demeanor makes her even more pitiful. If it were any other time, the eldest brother of the Jiang family would have already forcefully dragged her to the infirmary. Yet, a sarcastic voice quietly slipped into his ear. Tisk tsk. Isn't this just like the plot in her dramas? The stubborn yet strong-willed little white flower meets the cold and domineering CEO who is gentle only to her, and me, the vicious supporting actress, making a guest appearance? Jiang Minghui coughed to conceal his emotions, taking a deep look at Jiang Qianxia before awkwardly turning his gaze to his stubborn yet sensible younger sister in front of him. Mingcha, the matter with the clay doll was my fault. Since you said the wound isn't serious, I'll have the secretary take you to get it bandaged. As he spoke, he couldn't help but glance back at Jiang Qianxia, who had been sitting indifferently on the sofa. However, at that moment, she widened her eyes in surprise at his words. He couldn't help but press his lips together slightly. You little rascal, I can't handle your rebellious streak. Jiang Mingcha's expression froze instantly upon hearing this. She was stunned for a moment. Big Brother, what do you mean? After speaking, she realized her attitude was inappropriate. She glanced suspiciously at the clay doll on the ground, then secretly observed Jiang Qianxia sitting on the sofa, unease creeping into her heart. What on earth happened? First it was third brother, now it's Big Brother. Why did their attitude suddenly change? She looked uncertainly at Jiang Qianxia, who was sitting on the sofa and giving her a provocative smile. Her heart panicked, and she blurted out, Big Brother, was it Qianxia who broke it? Jiang Minghui had never been good at lying. Hearing Jiang Mingcha's words, he immediately understood that she was well aware and there was no need for him to say more. So, he chose to remain silent, his gaze quietly fixed on Jiang Mingcha, his heart a tangle of emotions. Faced with this younger sister who had completely revealed Jiang Qianxia's innermost thoughts, Jiang Minghui was momentarily at a loss for words. Jiang Mingcha was startled by his gaze, her heart tightening. She was well aware that her tone was too anxious and had forgotten that her elder brother's attitude toward Jiang Qianxia had already changed significantly. She hurriedly pressed her lips together, pretending to be calm as she took a step back. Elder brother, you know, I owe her too much. I have no right to blame her, nor would I ever blame her. As she spoke, she raised her head, a hint of disappointment flashing in her eyes. But this is a gift I gave you. Why would you help her hide it? I feel like my intentions have been disregarded. Jiang Minghui listened to her grievances and almost began to reflect on himself. But just then, that sarcastic voice emerged again. Oh, I'm not qualified to blame her. Was it because the original owner knew she was going to give the clay doll to her cheap big brother that she deliberately broke it? Now her feelings are valuable, but the original owner's feelings aren't? Ugh, what? Jiang Minghui's gaze shifted slightly. What does it mean that the original owner intended to give the clay doll to the cheap older brother? Was that clay doll a gift for him? Doubt flashed through his mind, and he suddenly lost interest in Jiang Mingcha's words. He paused for a moment and called the secretary, asking her to take Jiang Mingcha to the infirmary. When the secretary came in, she saw Jiang Qianxia sitting calmly on the sofa and couldn't help but feel startled. Having been driven away by President Jiang earlier, she felt somewhat resentful. She happened to run into Jiang Mingcha, who had rushed over upon hearing the news, and took the opportunity to complain to her. She originally thought that after Jiang Mingcha went in, Jiang Qianxia would be in trouble. Unexpectedly, it was Jiang Mingcha who got hurt and was sent out by President Jiang. What on earth is going on? The secretary suppressed her surprise and took the displeased Jiang Mingcha to the infirmary. In the office, Jiang Minghui faced Jiang Qianxia's curious gaze, cleared his throat, adjusted his tie, and sat down in front of her, ready to receive her praise and perhaps hear something about the clay doll. Unexpectedly, Jiang Qianxia studied him seriously, thinking, is he crazy or what? Why is he pretending to be a good person now? Where was he before? That green tea has hated me for ages, and now he's useful to take the blame? Jiang Minghui took a deep breath, quickly stood up, walked to the desk, and his expression slightly darkened as he turned his back to Jiang Qianxia. I really shouldn't have had any expectations for this rebellious little sister. But thinking about the clay doll she mentioned, he felt a bit hesitant to act harshly, even though that clay doll had long been shattered. And back then, he even stood up for Ming Cha. But with so many people in the Jiang family, how could she think a single clay doll would be enough to give to him? He doesn't treat Jiang Qianxia any differently from others, does he? The more he thought about it, the more curious he became, yet he could never find an answer. Jiang Minghui felt a bit restless. Ahem, he quickly suppressed his desire to continue probing, reverting to the cold and unfeeling demeanor of an elder brother, and pulled out a contract he had long prepared from the drawer. He turned and handed it to Jiang Qianxia. I called you here because there is indeed an endorsement contract for you. As for whether to accept it, you can discuss it with your agent. Jiang Qianxia didn't hesitate, took the contract, flipped through it, and her eyes stopped at the endorsement fee section. 10, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, million, 2 million. Wow, the work machine only gives me 2 million a month for playing the wife role, and this one endorsement is 2 million. I can escape a month early. The expression on Jiang family's eldest brother paused. What kind of personality does this rebellious little sister have? The Jiang family has never lacked money, so why has she become so obsessed with wealth? And what's with the 2 million monthly wife role-playing fee? Back then, the arranged marriage between the Sidhu family and the Jiang family was merely a casual agreement between the two elders, and both families held the attitude that if the younger generation was unwilling, they would simply pretend it never happened. This little girl, didn't she say she fell in love with that boy from the Sidhu family at first sight? Could it be fake, just to leave the Jiang family? Jiang Minghui glanced at Jiang Qianxia inquisitively, only to find her face reserved while her mind was fixated on the 2 million, leaving him speechless. He thought for a moment, then took out another contract from the drawer, cleared his throat, and interrupted this money-obsessed person's celebration. Jiang Qianxia heard the voice and calmly looked up at him. Jiang Minghui, clearly, it was the other party overthinking, so why did he feel a bit embarrassed instead? He averted his gaze, his eyes sharp as a blade. I have a higher level contract here that I can give you, but you must honestly answer one question for me. What did you threaten Mingsu with before? Jiang Qianxia's eyes lit up slightly, but her expression remained calm. A higher level? With my status, I'm afraid I can't even hold on to a 2 million contract. What kind of issue could be worth more than 2 million? It must be a scam, right? Jiang Qianxia's gaze quietly swept past Jiang family's eldest brother. Jiang Minghui, this little rebel, does she actually have some self-awareness? He sighed inwardly and patiently explained, this contract and the one in your hand are from the same company. It's for their new product endorsement this season, and the endorsement fee is 4 times that of your regular endorsement. Jiang Qianxia's gaze shifted slightly, and her fingers moved quietly, but she still didn't speak. Jiang Minghui was a bit surprised and was feeling curious when he suddenly heard her inner struggle. This, 8 million, should I say it or not? It's not that I can't say it, but if I do, my basic contracts will all have to run. And who doesn't know that this company was founded by this guy himself? Acting like it's their family business, who are you trying to fool? The endorsement Jiang Minghui gave to Jiang Qianxia was for a brand called Alice Jewelry. This company was founded single-handedly by Jiang Minghui's biological mother and was later inherited by him. He originally thought Jiang Qianxia didn't know, but seeing her suspicion, he told the truth. Rest assured, Alice was left to me by my mother. Regarding the choice of spokesperson, I gave the contract to you only after careful consideration and believing you were suitable. Alice has never required its spokespersons to have fame, as long as their appearance and temperament fit. In fact, the true love gem Jiang Qianxia previously received is a sub-brand under Alice Jewelry, targeting the mid to low-end market. Meanwhile, Alice Jewelry is the true high-end brand. Jiang Qianxia thought for a moment and indeed hadn't seen them choose any famous spokesperson. In terms of appearance and temperament, she was indeed confident. 8 million, might as well take it. If he dares to go back on his word, I'll make a big scene. Eldest brother Jiang, he suspected that this this rebellious younger sister was very disappointed about not having the chance to cause a big scene. He decided that no matter what he heard next, he wouldn't give her the chance. Jiang Qianxia gritted her teeth and decided to tell half the truth. I threatened Jiang Mingxiu, saying that if he didn't give me that variety show, I would expose Jiang Mingqia's true identity. After she finished speaking, she couldn't help but grip the contract tightly, anticipating Jiang Minghui's reaction. Jiang Minghui immediately noticed her small gesture, his brow slightly furrowing. For some reason, perhaps due to hearing too many outrageous things, after hearing these words, he unexpectedly felt a hint of "that's it" in his heart. Of course, his feeling wasn't wrong, and next he heard, I wouldn't say I lied, it is indeed a threatening background. It's just that the matters regarding the paternity test with the green tea should still be left unmentioned. If Jiang San hears it, he'd go crazy. This guy really dotes on his sister. After hearing it, he wouldn't. Jiang Minghui, to be honest, his level of acceptance was fairly decent, but his emotions grew increasingly complicated, and as Jiang Mingxi reflected, he began to doubt. Could the Jiang family truly be so indifferent to Qianxia? Indifferent to the point where she doubts whether she is their biological child? Thinking of this, Jiang Minghui sighed inwardly, his gaze falling on Qianxia, who was pretending to be calm but was actually uneasy inside, and handed her another contract. Don't do this again next time. If you want to join any variety show, just come to me directly. Jiang Qianxia took the contract half-believingly and looked politely at Jiang Minghui. Thank you, big brother. Alright, I'll come to you next time. As if, Jiang Minghui, he suddenly felt a headache. He realized that the Jiang family not only had issues with Mingqia's education but also seriously neglected this younger sister. However, he didn't expect to hear Qianxia calculating in her mind next. 2 contracts add up to 10 million. After taxes, will the amount I actually get be less? Plus the money I have on hand now. After leaving the Jiang family and the Situ family, I should be able to buy a house. I probably won't need to sell my jewelry, right? Oh no, wait. If I end up breaking ties with the Jiang family, Jiang's mother would probably ask me to return the jewelry. Then I'll only have the things given by the work machine. The work machine wouldn't be that stingy, right? Whatever, I need to look at houses first. That way, I'll have the motivation to earn money. I'll aim to secure the house after finishing the endorsement shoot. Woohoo, I, Jiang Qianxia, am finally going to have my own home. After planning it out in her mind, Jiang Qianxia became even more impatient. In her previous life, she never owned her own house, not even earning enough for a down payment. But looking at Jiang Minghui's expressionless and solemn face, she felt embarrassed to immediately suggest leaving. After all, she had just received 2 contracts worth over 10 million combined from him, and the signatures weren't even completed yet. She could only suppress her excitement and obediently look at him. However, her inner thoughts were completely transparent in Jiang Minghui's eyes. He sighed, take the contract to your agent for review. If there are any issues, you can call me. Qianxia's eyes lit up. Really? That's great. Thank you, big brother. Then I'll be off? Jiang Minghui waved his hand wearily. Go ahead. With that, Jiang Qianxia left without a trace of hesitation. Watching her departing figure and the tightly closed office door, Jiang Minghui frowned slightly. Why does she not only want to sever ties with the Jiang family but also leave the Situ family? What exactly is she trying to do? Moreover, she's planning to buy a house with just a few million. How could the Jiang family and the Situ family possibly treat her poorly? Why does she look as if she's struggling financially? Thinking of the house, he suddenly remembered why Jiang Qianxia had given him the clay doll back then. It seemed to be related to the house. That was the only time Jiang Qianxia looked at him with sparkling eyes, because when she was brought back to the Jiang family, the 2 sisters were just coming of age. Considering the Jiang family's status, their coming of age ceremony is quite extraordinary, involving not only various shares but also numerous real estate properties. The coming of age gift prepared by the Jiang family for Mingqia includes a luxury mansion in the city center. Due to time constraints, it was impossible to prepare a second one. Everyone assumed that Qianxia had no experience with such things and wouldn't understand the true value of that property, so it was better not to tell her for now. On the other hand, Mingqia knows everything. If the family were to take back the gift originally meant for her just because they brought another daughter home, she would undoubtedly be heartbroken. The problem was that Zhang's mother sometimes spoke without thinking and told Qianxia about this, even asking her to be understanding. So, when he returned home, he was met with Zhang's mother clutching her chest and crying, Mingqia constantly comforting her, and Qianxia standing off to the side at a distance. When Zhang's mother saw him, it was as if she had found her pillar of support. She called him over and asked about the mansion. Upon hearing this, he didn't think much of it. 2 younger sisters, celebrating their birthdays on the same day, both daughters of the Jiang family. Naturally, neither could be treated unfairly, so he took out a garden villa as compensation and gave it to Jiang Qianxia. The location of the garden villa isn't as good as Mingqia's mansion, but the villa is worth much more. This is unfair to Mingqia, Zhang's mother immediately retorted. But over the years, everything has been given to Mingqia, and Qianxia has had nothing. Giving her something better now isn't unfair to Mingqia, he responded coldly. Jiang Qianxia suddenly looked up, a glimmer flashing in her eyes. It wasn't greed, but another emotion. After so many years, thinking about it today, he suddenly understood the true source of that glimmer, because he was the only one in the Jiang family who had ever said he wouldn't treat her and Mingqia differently. But now, he no longer was. Thinking about Jiang mother's attitude toward Jiang Qianxia over the years, the scene of handing over the villa's ownership entirely to Jiang mother surfaced in his mind. Now that Jiang Qianxia was leaving the Jiang family, could it be that she wasn't considering the villa because Jiang mother hadn't given it to her? As this thought emerged, Jiang Minghui fell silent, suspecting that Jiang mother might really have done such a thing. He dialed Jiang's mother's phone number, his voice carrying a serious tone. Minghui, is there something wrong? Are you busy? Jiang Minghui asked directly. No, not busy. I'm at home. Jiang's mother hurriedly put down what she was holding and responded earnestly. He lowered his head, tugged at his tie, and said coldly, do you still remember the villa I asked you to pass on to Qianxia before? What? Mother Zhang's voice was noticeably guilty, and Jiang Minghui's heart sank instantly. His biological mother passed away very early. Although the stepmother had some flaws in her personality, she had always been gentle and considerate toward him and the second child, leaving nothing to criticize. He had always held her in high regard, but the fact that she had withheld something he had given was completely unexpected. He didn't expose her directly but continued to probe. The designer of that villa returned to the country today. I promised him back then that I would give him a chance to revisit familiar places. Could you help me pass on the message to Qianxia and ask if she could host this designer? After a few seconds of silence, Zhang's mother vaguely replied, Qianxia might be busy lately. How about I help you with the reception instead? Jiang Minghui's gaze was sharp. The designer hopes to communicate with the homeowner who has lived there. Then, Zhang's mother was momentarily at a loss for words. At this point, Jiang Minghui knew there was no need to probe further. He asked directly, didn't you give that villa to Qianxia? Why? His words made Zhang's mother turn pale. The stepson understood her, and she was also aware of what he was thinking. Such a tone clearly indicated that she could no longer deny it. Seeing that she could no longer hide it, Zhang's mother finally let down her guard and confessed the truth. It was Mingxia. At the time, she agreed to host a party with her classmates, and that villa was very suitable, so I gave it to her first. Jiang Minghui's gaze suddenly turned icy cold, and he immediately asked, then was that luxury house originally meant for Qianxia? Zhang's mother's gaze flickered, her voice trembling slightly. How could that be? That was a gift for Mingxia decided long ago. If it's given to Qianxia, how heartbroken would Mingxia be? Jiang Minghui felt a buzzing in his head and couldn't help but pinch the bridge of his nose. So both sets were given to Mingxia? Didn't you provide any compensation for Qianxia? Zhang's mother immediately replied, that won't do either. They're both my daughters. Of course, I would provide compensation. Jiang Minghui let out a reluctant sigh of relief but couldn't help asking, then what did you compensate her with? However, this time, Zhang's mother was unexpectedly speechless. A trace of unease rose in his heart, followed by hearing Zhang's mother vaguely mention a name. It was a set of jewelry. Back then, Madame Jiang was extremely dissatisfied with Zhang's father's second wife, unable to comprehend why Zhang's father, a highly educated gentleman, would fall in love with a woman who had nothing to offer besides beauty and gentleness. Zhang's mother came from a poor background, with only an alcoholic father at home. Her studies were mediocre, and she dropped out early to work. However, due to her beauty, she unexpectedly became involved in the games of wealthy heirs. Zhang's widowed father saved her once when he passed by, and things quickly spiraled out of control. Thus began a romantic tale between an old wealthy man and a fallen Cinderella. The first obstacle encountered was the strong opposition from the wealthy family's elder patriarch. However, despite her disapproval, Madame Jiang still gave her the gift symbolizing the daughter-in-law of the Jiang family after she entered the household. It was the Jiang family's heirloom. Perhaps out of spite, Grandma did not say much, and Zhang's mother, Jiang Minghui, vaguely guessed in his heart. That set of jewelry, not very valuable, outdated in style, was something Zhang's mother disliked very much. Perhaps she considered it an insult from Grandma and casually discarded it. Thinking of this, Jiang Minghui's heart turned completely cold. He did not tell Zhang's mother the true significance of that set of jewelry. His biological mother passed away after divorcing Father Jiang. At the time of the divorce, he personally handed that set of jewelry to his grandmother. Before giving the jewelry to Mother Jiang, his grandmother also sought his opinion, and he nodded in agreement back then. But he never expected that, after so many years, Mother Jiang, who had already become so glamorous in the wealthy circle, was still deep down that. He couldn't bring himself to say anything disparaging about his stepmother, nor did he want to dwell on it any further. But the anger burning within him made him unable to resist asking Zhang's mother again in a heavy tone, besides the villa, is there anything else? Zhang's mother vaguely sensed something was wrong, hesitated for a moment, and then guiltily said, what else could there be? Later, Qianxia went to college, insisted on living on campus and not coming home, and then she got married. Listening to Zhang's mother's indifferent tone, Jiang Minghui couldn't help but reflect once again on his own neglect. It turns out that the girl's rebellion was not without reason. Perhaps there really was a cause behind it. He remained silent for a moment, then, recalling Jiang mother's guilty tone, couldn't help but ask, when Qianxia got married, the dowry. Jiang mother hurriedly replied, of course the dowry didn't shortchange her. Everything that should have been given was given. Jiang Minghui's heart sank. Is there a dowry list? Zhang's mother hesitated upon hearing this and asked, what do you need that for? Jiang Minghui usually disliked lying, but at this moment, he instinctively spoke without thinking, knowing that directly asking Zhang's mother wouldn't yield the real answer. He said, Qianxia is already married, and now I only have Mingxia as my younger sister. I want to add something to her dowry, so I want to check the list to avoid preparing duplicates. Hearing Jiang Minghui say this, Zhang's mother had no doubts. After all, this eldest son had always doted on Mingxia, so she immediately forgot about Jiang Qianxia and began to talk in detail about the dowry she had prepared for Mingxia. When she mentioned that the dowry included several houses and even shares of her own company, Jiang Minghui frowned slightly. Because Mingxia's background was exposed before she turned 18, the core shares of the Jiang family originally meant for her were adjusted due to opposition from Madame Jiang and Zhang's father. But in the end, Qianxia still didn't get them. As for Jiang mother's company, it was essentially a company Zhang's father established to please his wife. She actually planned to give a portion to Mingxia, which clearly meant Qianxia didn't get it either. No wonder Qianxia suspected that after leaving the Jiang family, Zhang's mother would take back what she had given her. On the other end of the phone, Zhang's mother was still complaining that the dowry she had prepared was not high-end enough. The greatest regret of her life was not being able to match Zhang's father with an appropriate dowry when she got married, which led to her being secretly ridiculed in the circle of wealthy wives. Her family background became a source of pain in her heart. Thus, everything she had lost, she wanted to reclaim through her daughter. After hearing Jiang Minghui's words, she asked expectantly, the house and car are already prepared. If you want to add anything else, how about a yacht? She knew that Jiang Minghui, her elder brother, was genuinely sincere, treating him like his own son without any pretense. After all, Jiang Minghui not only took over most of the Jiang family's businesses but also controlled the resources of the maternal family. His assets were astonishingly abundant, and just giving a little to his sister would allow her to hold her head high in their social circle. However, one sentence from Jiang Minghui instantly wiped the smile off her face. So, how many houses and cars will Qianxia have when she gets married? The stepchild stood up for that useless daughter, yet still failed to realize the problem. Mother Jiang was truly stunned. Her smile vanished instantly. You know, when Qianxia got married, it was all so rushed that there was no time to prepare anything. The Situ family didn't care much about these things either, so I took out some of my treasured items to add to her dowry. Anyway, she wasn't treated unfairly, rest assured. As she spoke, Mother Jiang felt a bit embarrassed and said softly to the side, "Ah, Mrs. Zhang came to see me. We've scheduled a spa appointment, and it's about to start. How about, please go ahead and keep your appointment." Jiang Minghui kept a cold expression as he finished her sentence for her. After speaking, he let Zhang's mother hang up the phone guiltily. Once the call ended, Jiang Minghui sat in his seat with a complicated expression, pondered for a moment, and then made a few phone calls. Half an hour later, Jiang Qianxia, who was discussing an endorsement contract with Sister Yan, suddenly received a call from an unknown number. After hanging up the phone, her expression was dazed. Sister Yan asked curiously, "What's wrong with you?" Jiang Qianxia said blankly, "They told me to go to Yulin Bay when I have time to pick a villa. There are a few with gardens. Someone bought one for me, and it's already been paid in full." Yulin Bay is the city's new affluent area, where the threshold for villas is extremely high. Ordinary wealthy people, especially those nouveau riche, can't buy one at all. The locals jokingly refer to Yulin Bay as the second-generation neighborhood of aristocrats. How could someone gift her a villa? Although Jiang Qianxia usually had a driver and a luxury car when she went out, Sister Yan still couldn't help but look at her in doubt. "Haven't you downloaded the anti-fraud app?" Jiang Qianxia opened her phone and found that the original owner indeed hadn't downloaded it. Remembering how she had once advised Xianqing, she casually downloaded one from the App Store as well. After the download was complete, her WeChat received a friend request from the person who had just called, asking her to remotely choose a house layout. Jiang Qianxia initially wanted to refuse outright, but upon seeing the other party's profile picture, she hesitated and ultimately accepted. The other party sent over several villa photos, providing a professional and detailed introduction, even asking if she had any other requirements. He promised to help her find the ideal villa based on her preferences, with the renovation and costs covered by the payer, so there was no need to worry. He suggested that Jiang Qianxia visit in person to see which one she liked best. Jiang Qianxia flipped through the photos of the villa and felt a bit strange. She asked the other party who paid the full amount, and the response was that the payer requested confidentiality. Sister Yan noticed her slight frown and asked with concern, "What's wrong?" Jiang Qianxia handed her the phone and said softly, "The information is too realistic. It doesn't feel made up." She had just agreed to his friend request because she saw his profile picture. The profile picture was a photo of him wearing a suit, with a note stating he was Li Tao, a real estate agent for Yulin Bay, approximately 37 or 38 years old. His appearance was professional and age-appropriate, smooth-talking yet genuine at heart, making him an ideal candidate for sales. As a result, he was well-liked and had achieved modest success in his career. If he truly was an agent for Yulin Bay Villas, the commission from selling a single property would already be considered substantial for an average person, which indeed qualifies as modest success. Jiang Qianxia also noticed that he had a gentle wife and a pair of twin children. The information and his way of speaking matched, and his social media posts included family moments. Sister Yan flipped through the photos and information sent by Li Tao. When she saw the detailed floor plans and engineering drawings, she couldn't help but frown. Do scammers prepare such complete materials these days? Could he have stolen the identity of the real estate agent Li Tao? Sister Yan glanced at the driver, then looked at Jiang Qianxia's pretty face and joked, "Or are you actually the granddaughter of the richest man?" Jiang Qianxia remained expressionless. "Close enough. I am indeed the richest man's granddaughter-in-law. The Jiang family is slightly behind the Situ family on the wealth rankings." Seeing her remain silent, Sister Yan blinked. "Don't tell me this is true?" Jiang Qianxia raised an eyebrow. "Why don't we go take a look now?" As she spoke, she sent a message to Li Tao, saying she would go check out the house now. Li Tao immediately agreed and said he would wait for her at the entrance of Yulin Bay. Jiang Qianxia saw this and decisively instructed the driver to change course to Yulin Bay, thinking to herself that as long as she met this person, she would know whether he was real or fake. Sister Yan was momentarily stunned. "Qianxia, don't scare me." Jiang Qianxia reassured her, "Don't worry. As long as I see him, I'll know whether what he says is true or false." Sister Yan watched the driver turn around and hurriedly said, "All right, stop joking around. We still need to go back to the company to sign the contract." However, she realized that Jiang Qianxia was not joking, as the driver quickly drove in the opposite direction. Sister Yan glanced at the luxury car, her pupils trembling. "So you're really rich enough that someone might gift you a villa, and in Yulin Bay no less?" Jiang Qianxia shrugged. "Logically speaking, no." Sister Yan took a deep breath, just starting to feel relieved when she heard Jiang Qianxia continue. "But then again, it's possible someone wants to stir up trouble and is preparing to compensate me in advance." This idea began to make her suspicious ever since Li Tao agreed to view the house without hesitation. After much thought, there are only two possibilities. Either Jiang Mingcha went home to complain and the Jiang family wants to kick me out, or the work machine wants to divorce me ahead of schedule. Seeing Jiang Qianxia deep in thought, Sister Yan was surprised, her mouth forming an O shape. What complaint from Jiang Mingcha? Which family? And divorcing early? Were they planning to divorce originally? With a head full of questions, Sister Yan was about to say something when she heard another sentence by her ear. If only both possibilities could be true. She saw Jiang Qianxia looking out the window with a face full of anticipation, and Sister Yan's heart tightened. She slowly closed her open mouth, memories flashing of Jiang Qianxia's once hostile attitude toward Jiang Mingcha and recalling her sibling-like relationship with Jiang Mingxiu. Now, looking at Qianxia's profile, which was almost identical to that top star, Sister Yan's heart surged with waves of shock, followed by a pang of heartache. She didn't understand why. If Jianxiao's Jiang family and Jiang Mingxiu and Jiang Mingchao's Jiang were the same, her treatment was worlds apart. The first possibility that came to mind was the identity of an illegitimate daughter, but deep down, she was unwilling to consider this possibility. In any case, she firmly stood by Qianxiao's side. Not long after, they arrived outside the Yulinbei Villa district, where a man who looked exactly like the WeChat profile picture was waiting respectfully at the entrance. When Jiang Qianxia saw his face clearly, she understood everything in her heart. The villa district was very large, so she asked Li Tao to get in the car first. Li Tao, who had long dealt with the elite circles, began calculating in his mind upon hearing Jiang Qianxia's name. This is probably not the luxurious mansion a big shot would give to their lover, but rather to someone like a younger sister, because the big shot's surname is Jiang. This guess was completely confirmed after meeting Jiang Qianxia. Upon closer inspection, the young lady's facial features bore some resemblance to the big shot with the surname Jiang. After observing these details, Li Tao understood how he should treat this young lady. However, unexpectedly, after he got in the car, Jiang Qianxia suddenly asked, "Is the payer Jiang Minghui?" Li Tao froze and gave a dry laugh. "I really can't say." However, Jiang Qianxia saw the truth from his reaction. She guessed right. When she thought of two possible names, two people quickly came to mind, Jiang Minghui and Situyu. With such grand gestures from the Jiang family, there were only a few people behind it: Madame Jiang, Father Jiang, Mother Jiang, and the eldest and second brothers of the Jiang family. It wasn't that the Jiang family's assets were unevenly distributed, but rather that most of the wealth was still in the hands of the three elders, leaving the younger generation with almost nothing. Although the eldest and second brothers of the Jiang family inherited considerable wealth from their maternal family, it still couldn't compare to the fortune of the elders. If someone were really to drive her out of the family, it would probably only be that upright eldest brother who would do such a thing. As for the Yulinbei villa, Jiang Qianxia didn't find it surprising. After all, his actions represented the reputation of both the Jiang family and his maternal family, and he absolutely couldn't afford to let anyone down. But Situyu, she had already noticed during the last meal that he was not the kind of person who cared about etiquette. So, the only one left was Jiang Minghui. Jiang Qianxia understood in her heart, and Li Tao could only chuckle awkwardly and shift the topic to introducing the villa. Unexpectedly, Jiang Qianxia didn't even listen to the end and directly asked, "Which one is the most expensive?" Li Tao was momentarily stunned, but he kept his expression in check and respectfully introduced the most expensive villa. Jiang Qianxia raised her chin arrogantly and, without hesitation, made the decision, this one. For Li Tao, the higher the villa's selling price, the higher his commission would be. Jiang Qianxia choosing the most expensive one was naturally a good thing, but it might not necessarily be the most suitable for her. Li Tao couldn't help but dutifully remind her, "Would you like to see it in person before making a decision?" Jiang Qianxia noticed the hesitation in his eyes and asked, "What do you think doesn't suit me?" Li Tao carefully looked her over and shook his head. "Not really, it's just that there are a few more unique ones. It would be a pity not to check them out." Jiang Qianxia curled her lips into a smile. "It's fine, I just like expensive ones. Since it's not my money, of course, I'll go for the priciest." Li Tao paused for a moment and didn't try to persuade her further. Next, he took Jiang Qianxia to tour the most expensive villa and asked about her preferences for interior design, proposing some renovation plans based on her opinions. In just one afternoon, they finalized the preliminary design for the renovation plan. Seeing Li Tao's attentiveness, after signing the contract and completing the formalities, Jiang Qianxia entrusted the renovation to him. After handing it over to him, she no longer needed to worry and only had to inspect and provide suggestions. When leaving Yulinbei, Sister Yan still had a dazed expression. It wasn't until the car drove far enough that Yulinbei was no longer visible that Sister Yan couldn't help pinching herself and looked at Jiang Qianxia in shock. "I really wasn't dreaming. That villa just now, 88 million, is yours?" Seeing Sister Yan so shocked, Jiang Qianxia, who had been pretending to stay calm, couldn't help it either. She took a deep breath and said in disbelief, "Yes, it's mine." Heaven knows, when she first arrived, she thought it would be impossible to move forward, but she hadn't expected the surprise to come so quickly. Now she had the villa, some savings in hand, and the endorsement fee. She could immediately leave the Jiang family and the Situ family and live a great life. This thought filled Jiang Qianxia's heart with excitement. Then, two repeaters sounded in the car. Sister Yan spoke as if sleepwalking. "An 80 million villa." Jiang Qianxia responded excitedly, "Yes, it's mine now." "An 80 million villa." "Yes, it's mine now." "An 80 million villa." "Yes, it's mine now." In the rearview mirror, the driver watched the two inexperienced women repeatedly exclaim, eventually embracing each other and crying, unable to hide a puzzled expression. He noticed that his wife had been acting strangely these past 2 days. Of course, the driver was not in a position to say much, because something good had happened. Jiang Qianxia originally planned to treat Sister Yan to a meal, but unexpectedly, Sister Yan suddenly received a call from the company asking her to return. She had originally planned to sign the contract at the company after finishing the meal, so Jiang Qianxia accompanied Sister Yan back. As soon as they arrived at the company, they felt a tense atmosphere. Most of the employees were on edge. When they saw Sister Yan and Jiang Qianxia return, they only greeted them softly. Even the usually lively young women looked pale and dared not joke around. Especially on the third floor, the tense atmosphere was even more pervasive. All the agents' office doors were wide open, the lights were bright, yet not a single person was in sight. Sister Yan met Jiang Qianxia's puzzled gaze, gave her a hint to wait in her office, then took a deep breath and walked into the meeting room. Nearly 2 hours later, Jiang Qianxia was fast asleep in the office when Sister Yan finally returned, her expression heavy. Jiang Qianxia groggily took off Sister Yan's coat, intending to return it to her, but Sister Yan pulled the coat back over her. "Keep it on." The night wind is chilly, and you just fell asleep. Don't catch a cold. I still have. Speaking, Sister Yen took a new coat from the wardrobe and put it on, poured a glass of water and placed it in front of Jiang Qianxia, then poured one for herself. She took a sip, lowered her head, and sighed. Jiang Qianxia held the glass of water, took a sip, sobered up a bit, and asked, what happened? Sister Yen sighed again, looking deeply at Jiang Qianxia. Sister Xian is in trouble. Jiang Qianxia didn't show a surprised expression. Sister Yen continued, do you still remember Ding Fanfan? Last time we met, she got a call saying her brother was in trouble. After hearing that, Sister Xian rushed out. And guess what happened? Jiang Qianxia had just woken up, her cheeks flushed. She sipped water in small gulps, unaware of Sister Yan's probing, and directly revealed what she had seen on Sister Xian's face back then. That Ding Fanfan's brother who got into trouble is actually Sister Xian's son, and also Ding Juansai's son. So, Ding Juansai's wife finally discovered the child swapping incident between the two of them? Sister Yan deliberately threw the question to Jiang Qianxia, intending to test her, but saw her spill everything without any guard. She gave Jiang Qianxia a helpless glance, didn't expose her, and instead smoothly picked up the conversation. You just went out and heard them talking, didn't you? Hearing this, Jiang Qianxia, who had originally planned to drop her disguise and tell Sister Yen that she could read fortunes, silently thought, forget it, now isn't the right time, maybe next time. In short, Ding Junkai, the general manager of the company's agent department, rose to power by relying on his status as the brother-in-law of the company president. Not only did he abuse his authority and frequently favor Jiang Xian, but he also cheated on his wife after marriage, conspiring with his mistress Jiang Xian to replace his legitimate daughter with an illegitimate child. If it weren't for an incident involving that illegitimate child which panicked Jiang Xian, this might not have been exposed so early. Now, both Ding Junkai and Jiang Xian have been fired from the company. Ding Junkai left with nothing, while Jiang Xian faces a claim for joint property from the legitimate wife. Tonight, everyone is working overtime because their actions angered the company president, who, in his fury, urgently called Sister Yen back to carry out sweeping reforms. Several associates and agents were also cleared out in the process. Currently, Sister Yen has become the company's only top-tier agent, and only she can take over the artists under Jiang Xian's management. Jiang Qianxia felt happy for Sister Yen after hearing this. Although it might be a bit exhausting for now, it meant that she was taking on a major role and getting promoted. However, Sister Yen didn't seem to share the same joy. Sister Yen sighed, I had long expected Jiang Xian to mess up. Although the way it happened was quite explosive, I've been thinking about you. Jiang Qianxia was taken aback, and Sister Yen looked at her worriedly. Now that I've taken over Jiang Xian's artists, I won't be able to accompany you for the endorsement shoot. I'm not entirely at ease and haven't brought it up with the president yet. So it was for her? Jiang Qianxia felt a warmth in her heart and smiled. Sister Yen, you don't need to worry about me. That endorsement won't be a problem. You can take over with confidence. Since Sister Yen still had company matters to handle, dinner was postponed. After parting ways with Sister Yen, Jiang Qianxia didn't feel like going out to eat alone, so she went home. However, upon returning home, she heard some not-so-surprising news. Nanny Lu had gotten into trouble. It turned out that the phone call Lu received at the kindergarten gate in the morning was from her family, saying her son was sick again. She rushed home in a hurry, only to find that her son had beaten up the two elderly family members, who were now lying in the hospital. After hearing all this, Jiang Qianxia wasn't surprised. After all, Lu had done some immoral things, and those two little devils had been following her for years. Misfortune was bound to come sooner or later. A debt of blood must be repaid in blood. The little stepchild, however, couldn't return because of Lu Ma's matter and had already been taken back to the old residence. Jiang Qianxia somewhat missed the little one's incredibly soft and smooth cheeks. Feeling slightly regretful, she finished dinner alone, did some yoga, and then leisurely lay on the balcony, enjoying the beautiful view of the garden. As she gazed at the scenery, she couldn't help but start imagining her life after breaking away from the Sidhu family and the Jiang family. The villa she saw today also had a garden, and two of them at that. However, by then, she probably wouldn't be able to afford someone to tend to them every day. Thinking about this, she couldn't help but turn her head to glance at the maid waiting obediently by her side for instructions, and she sighed inwardly. This group of attentive maids, she wouldn't be able to afford them either. The cost of these maids was incomparable to that of regular nannies outside. Just yesterday, the maid who gave her a spa treatment had techniques that would be considered professional even in high-end beauty salons outside. After all, this was just one of the many skills of a maid serving a wealthy family. The maid was scrutinized by Jiang Qianxia for a moment, and she immediately seized the opportunity, stepping forward with a gentle smile to ask, Madam, you had a full-body spa yesterday. Would you like to try a massage today to relax your muscles? Jiang Qianxia recalled the professional technique from yesterday and felt tempted. All right. Another maid saw this and quickly raised her hand. Madam, I can do Thai massage. Would you like to try mine today? Upon hearing this, Jiang Qianxia noticed the amusing expressions of the two maids, resembling concubines in the palace vying for favor. She couldn't help but feel a surprising sense of empathy with the scummy emperor. Although the spa maid was good, she hadn't tried the Thai massage maid yet, so giving it a shot wouldn't hurt. Consequently, the maid in the back successfully took over, leaving the one in front gritting her teeth in anger. When Jiang Qianxia came downstairs after changing into her robe, the maid's expressions had returned to calm. Her lounge chair was quickly replaced with a massage bed. Although the villa had a massage room, wealthy people preferred enjoying services on the balcony while gazing at the night sky, so the equipment was fully prepared. Jiang Qianxia made a mental note of this, thinking her own villa could be set up similarly, but then realized the key was having maids. Feeling helpless, she gave up on the idea. As soon as she lay down, she was startled by the maid's sudden movement of lifting her leg. However, after crossing over, she had learned not to easily show her emotions, so her startled expression remained subtle. These maids were no ordinary people, and naturally, they noticed Jiang Qianxia's mood immediately. They explained gently, Madam, Thai massage mainly works to unblock meridians, balance yin and yang, relieve fatigue, and enhance immunity. Since you worked today, the massage I gave you was primarily to unblock the meridians throughout your body, promote blood circulation, and reduce physical fatigue, so the movements might be a bit intense. After listening, Jiang Qianxia raised her chin gracefully. Continue. With mental preparation, it indeed felt much better. Seeing that Jiang Qianxia seemed a bit bored, the other maids exchanged glances and began to think of ways to entertain her. Their efforts to please Jiang Qianxia over the past 2 days were not without reason. Besides the change in Situyu's attitude that day, there was also the shift in Jiang Qianxia's aura. Although Jiang Qianxia showed no intention of settling scores with them after gaining favor, the calmer she appeared, the more uneasy they felt. Not settling scores meant the matter was not yet over. Now everyone was worried that one day Jiang Qianxia might hold a grudge, recall their past actions, and suddenly say something to drive him away. As a result, someone soon brought up the matter of Lu Ma, which Jiang Qianxia had previously asked about, tentatively mentioning it again. Most of the maids present had come along with Lu Ma. This was the marital home. Before the wedding, Situyu never lived here. Although he still rarely stayed here now, nominally, this was his home. After the marriage, the original owner moved into this villa, and the wealthy mother-in-law sent Situ Xiaoya over, along with a nanny Lu Ma and a group of maids. So everyone was aware of Lu Ma's family situation. Jiang Qianxia recalled that driver Lu Shu had mentioned the symptoms of Lu Ma's son, which piqued her interest. The symptoms of that son seemed to be related to those two ghostly children, but she couldn't discern the specifics yet. This was because she could only deduce a person's fate through their appearance, as well as the fate of those deeply intertwined with them. As for the fates of Lu Ma's two stepchildren, she could only see up to the moment of their deaths. The destinies Jiang Qianxia could perceive did not include the part of them as ghosts. Coincidentally, she was preparing to study some metaphysical knowledge and gather more details, planning to ask Xianqing about the situation when the time came. Seeing that Jiang Qianxia was genuinely interested, the maids began vividly reenacting the events at Aunt Lu's house for her. Then, Situyu walked into the house and found the lights in the villa were on, but there wasn't a single person inside. He recalled the scenes he had seen earlier on the surveillance footage, where the maids were isolating Jiang Qianxia, and his expression instantly darkened. Although he didn't like this wife and name, that didn't mean the maids had the right to show attitude to their master. Just as he was about to continue walking inside, he suddenly heard laughter coming from the balcony. He felt even more puzzled. He disliked the atmosphere among the servants of the Situ family, but there had never been any private commotion before. Suddenly, he thought of his complicated wife, and his heart tightened, feeling inexplicably frustrated. Wasn't she criticizing him? Couldn't even keep a few servants in check? Thinking of this, he quickened his pace, pulled open the curtains, and his eyes lit up as a pair of fair, slender legs came into view. The previous second, he was still furious at this woman for not living up to expectations, yet there she was lying on a massage bed, wearing a face mask, laughing so hard that the mask was about to fall off, surrounded by a group of young maids showering her with compliments. Not far away, a few other maids were performing something for her. What an utterly captivating scene. The curtains were suddenly yanked open, startling everyone on the balcony. They froze in place and turned their heads. When they saw Satuyu's face, they were so frightened they almost knelt on the spot. Each one became as obedient as a little quail. Trembling with fear, their hands pressed tightly to their sides, bowing their heads respectfully and saying, "Young master, you're back." Due to Satuyu's overwhelming deterrence, the previous attentiveness of carrying Jiang Qianxia's bag, pouring water, and fetching her coat was immediately forgotten. Fortunately, Satuyu also disliked servants being too close. He could hardly believe the scene he was witnessing. The only one not startled by his sudden appearance was Jiang Qianxia, who was still savoring the moment. She bent her leg, leisurely turned her head, and thought to herself, "How bold! Which unruly subject dares to disturb my pleasure?" Then, she clearly saw Situyu's slightly cold and handsome face and frowned. "Damn, why is the work machine here?" Situyu, after working all day without feeling tired, her body suddenly felt utterly exhausted at this moment. What was he thinking before he pulled open the curtains? He rubbed his temples, turned around, and left. Seeing Situyu leave, the maids felt slightly less pressured and finally reacted, looking at Jiang Qianxia helplessly. "Madam." Situyu's expression just now wasn't good, and it certainly couldn't have been directed at them, the maids. It must have been aimed at the young madam. So they all thought Jiang Qianxia would get up and chase after her. Unexpectedly, Jiang Qianxia tightened her pajamas, lazily lay back down, and said nonchalantly, "Where were we just now?" Continue. The maids looked at each other, secretly thinking to themselves, but dared not say anything to Jiang Qianxia. After learning about Aunt Lu's son's situation, Jiang Qianxia stretched lazily, instructed the maids to put away the massage bed, briefly mentioned the breakfast arrangements for the next morning, and went straight upstairs. Just as she reached halfway up the stairs, she suddenly remembered that the work machine seemed to have returned. As she was thinking about it, a tall figure upstairs happened to come down and collided with her. Situyu had just finished showering, dressed in a bathrobe, with slightly damp black hair hanging over his forehead, making him look less stern than he did during the day. His delicate features, accentuated by the droplets of water, appeared soft and captivating. Jiang Qianxia noticed that he was wearing the same style of bathrobe as hers, and the striking collarbone at the neckline was simply impossible to look away from. Coupled with his natural handsomeness and perfect physique, she couldn't help but sigh inwardly, "With such beauty before me, feeling moved is only natural, right?" She was dazed for a second, suddenly realizing his condescending gaze. She abruptly tightened her pajamas and cursed inwardly, "Pervert, see to you." He lowered his head to look at her. Initially, it was because of that subjectless inner voice. The two words beauty made him think Jiang Qianxia was referring to him. He wanted to see what kind of shameless woman she was. However, in the next second, he had become a pervert. He averted his gaze, no longer looking at Jiang Qianxia, and walked straight downstairs. However, just as he brushed past her, he heard her inner voice by his ear. Wait a moment." Situyu paused in his steps and looked back, only to find Jiang Qianxia with her back to him. He immediately realized it was her inner voice again. Acting as if nothing had happened, he continued walking downstairs. "So, which room did he just take a shower in? Coming back early and even taking a shower, could he really be interested in me? Yeah, otherwise, why would he give me a ring and milk? It all seems so strange. No, I need to hurry upstairs and pretend to be asleep. No, better lock the door." Tomorrow I'll find an excuse and say I have a habit of locking the door when I sleep and forgot he was here. Yes, that's the plan. After figuring this out, Jiang Qianxia's steps became much lighter. While pouring water, Situyu's gaze darkened slightly. Wait, he suddenly spoke. Jiang Qianxia paused slightly, turned back in confusion, and looked down at him. What's the matter? Her noble and aloof demeanor gave no hint of the mischievous thoughts running through her mind. Situyu raised an eyebrow. Want some water? His inexplicable attempt at conversation deepened Jiang Qianxia's doubts. She secretly studied his handsome face and perfect figure, sighing inwardly. Ah, no matter the angle, he's a stunner. What a pity. Jiang Qianxia, you cannot be tempted. Ahem, no, I don't. She cleared her throat lightly, withdrew her gaze, and prepared to make a quick escape. Downstairs, Situyu held a water cup in his hand, his eyes stunned as he looked at the woman who had fled in haste, his ears quietly turning red. From Jiang Qianxia's inner thoughts when she ran away just now, he suddenly realized that the beauty she had mentioned earlier was actually referring to him. How could beauty be used to describe him, a grown man? Situyu looked doubtfully at the reflective cabinet door beside him, which showed his still damp hair softly sticking to his head. He took a deep breath, feeling utterly foolish. After putting down the water cup, he deliberately waited for a while, expecting Jiang Qianxia to understand that they were not in the same room before going upstairs. However, as she passed by her own room, she suddenly heard a strange sound. It was a sound made involuntarily from exertion, accompanied by the slogan, 1, 2, 3, go for it. Situyu stood at the door and listened for a moment. Although he couldn't figure out what she was doing, he ultimately decided not to go in. After all, if she needed help, there were so many maids in the villa that she wouldn't be foolish enough to forget to call someone. That must be intentional, not calling out. So, Situyu prepared to leave, but just then, a muffled sound came from inside, followed by a cry of pain. Ouch. Situyu paused, politely knocked on the door, and was about to speak when the door suddenly opened. It turned out the door hadn't been properly closed. He instinctively looked inside, only to meet the gaze of a woman sprawled awkwardly on the floor. Facing the man's gaze, Jiang Qianxia let out a startled cry, hurriedly tightened her nearly disheveled robe, and looked warily at Situyu by the door. Situyu followed the direction of her fall and noticed it was caused by a displaced European-style sofa. He instantly understood what she was doing just now, pushing the sofa to block the door. For a moment, he smiled helplessly, though he felt a bit annoyed inside. Jiang Qianxia realized she had been caught and appeared quite embarrassed, wishing she could give her brain from 2 minutes ago a hard knock. What was I just thinking? How could I come up with such a stupid idea? The physical strength difference between men and women is so big. If he really wanted to do something, I wouldn't be able to stop him at all. Situyu let out a sigh of relief, feeling glad that she could recognize her own foolishness. But just as he was about to leave, he suddenly heard her muttering to herself again. Most importantly, we seem to be legally married right now. A top-tier man like him, after a divorce, I might not even come across someone like him again. Wouldn't that be a bit of a loss? Situyu's pupils slightly contracted. The heat on his face hadn't completely subsided when he heard her continue. No, even if he keeps himself clean, he still has little one's mom. No matter how handsome he is or how good his figure is, he's still second-hand. I, the newly crowned fortune-telling rich lady, have plenty of handsome men waiting for me in the future. No. Seeing the woman mentally shaking her head like a rattle drum, Situyu's originally flushed face instantly turned gloomy, and, as if driven by some unseen force, he stepped inside. Finally, her startled gaze met his, and his tone softened slightly. Jiang Qianxia swallowed hard. What are you doing? Situyu furrowed his brows slightly, gazing at her flustered expression, and said in a low voice, Miss Jiang, do you still remember our relationship? Jiang Qianxia's heart tightened, and she quietly took a step back, nodding slightly. Of course I remember. Contract couple. She deliberately emphasized the word contract, wanting to stress that they were merely nominal fake spouses. Noticing her thoughts, Situyu unusually felt like teasing her. He intentionally leaned in close, watching her retreat step by step, his gaze locking onto her eyes as he corrected, that's a post-marriage contract. The premise of the contract is, we are legally married. The man leaned closer and closer. Jiang Qianxia initially wanted to hide and avoid him, but upon hearing those words, her beautiful eyes couldn't help but widen in surprise. He deliberately mentioned legal. What does he mean? Is he really going to? Jiang Qianxia's expression changed. She hurriedly stepped back a few paces but accidentally kicked the sofa she had just pushed askew. Her body immediately lost balance and fell backward. Situyu saw this and felt a tightness in his chest. A scene of her about to fall flashed through his mind. There were sharp objects behind her. He strode forward without hesitation and reached out his hand. However, his foot stepped on the carpet that Jiang Qianxia had dragged askew, causing him to lose his balance. Thud. The two fell face to face together. Jiang Qianxia was so startled by the sudden loss of balance that her heart raced uncontrollably, and she reflexively closed her eyes. At the moment she fell, she felt a warm, large hand firmly supporting her waist and the back of her head. What is this? Her heartbeat instantly accelerated. Immediately after, she was heavily pressed onto the thick carpet, her lips brushing against a warm, soft sensation. The carpet was thick, so the fall didn't hurt, but Jiang Qianxia was completely stunned. Why did I fall? And the other person fell along with me, and we even kissed. Jiang Qianxia blinked, looking at the enlarged handsome face in front of her. Her first reaction was, it's surprisingly soft. Situyu's body stiffened as he prepared to slowly withdraw his hand from under Jiang Qianxia, but he suddenly felt the soft, moist sensation on his lips. His eyes widened instantly in disbelief. Meeting the man's shocked gaze, Jiang Qianxia froze as well, screaming internally, what did I just do? Did I just lick him? Oh no, he's going to think I was hinting at something. At that moment, Jiang Qianxia's body suddenly felt lighter, and her head gently bumped against the carpet. When she opened her eyes again, the room was already empty. She sat there in a daze for a moment, her cheeks flushed red. Quickly, she got up, dashed to the door, closed and locked it, then rushed into the bathroom. Touching her lips, which showed no trace of what had happened, she stood there, stunned. Ah, my first kiss. It's gone, she screamed in her heart. On the other side, Situyu returned to his room at the fastest speed of his life, his heart pounding like a drum, his cheeks and lips burning. He splashed splashed cold water on his face twice, but the heat refused to subside. Staring at the unfamiliar yet excited expression in the mirror, his mind kept replaying Jiang Qianxia's delicate, rosy face, her bewildered and innocent almond-shaped eyes, her soft and slender waist, and that phrase, "It's surprisingly soft." It was clearly just a few seconds of an accident, yet it felt like a brand imprinted deeply on his heart. He turned on the faucet again, trying to clear his head, but unexpectedly heard a sound coming from next door. "Ah, my first kiss. It's gone just like that. I've lost big time. Woo woo woo." The cold water in Situyu's hand suddenly froze. His heart tightened. She's crying? Just as he was at a loss for what to do, the crying from next door abruptly stopped, followed by a sigh. But thinking about the face of the work machine, I guess I didn't lose out too much. Besides, he actually smells nice. Tsk tisk. Swish, Situyu's face flushed once again. He glanced at the cold water in his palm, knowing in his heart that the cold water was now meaningless. Taking a deep breath, he turned off the faucet, glanced at the soundproof walls, and strode out of the bathroom. After returning to the room, he could no longer hear the sounds from next door. Situyu let out a sigh of relief, lifted the blanket, lay down stiffly, but couldn't fall asleep no matter what. The next morning, Situyu woke up earlier than usual. He first went to the gym, then took a shower before heading downstairs. When he went downstairs, breakfast wasn't ready yet, so he opened his tablet in the living room and started browsing the morning news. Seeing this, the cook hurried to speed up. Although Situyu didn't return to the villa often, the maids remembered his habits well. He usually watched the morning news on the living room TV. Now, seeing him deliberately lower the volume, the maids exchanged glances and instantly understood. The villa's soundproofing was excellent, and the sound from the living room wouldn't reach the bedroom at all. Yet the young master intentionally lowered the volume, clearly worried about disturbing the lady's sleep. The maid who had previously shown cleverness in front of Jiang Qianxia had a sudden idea. She ran to Situyu and cautiously asked, "Young master, should we wait for the young madam to dine together?" The memories that had just been ignored all night suddenly surged back, and Situyu's gaze stiffened. The maid, however, didn't notice and continued to explain softly, "Recently, the madam has been waking up quite early." Situyu immediately fell silent. "What time does she get up?" The delighted maid's face lit up with joy. She glanced at the time and said excitedly, "Recently, madam has been getting up at 7:30. It was now 7 o'clock, leaving half an hour to go. Normally, the young master's routine involved dining around 7 and leaving by about 7:30. Since he was willing to lower the volume for madam, it was clear that waiting a little longer was something he wouldn't mind. Seeing Situyu turn to check the time, the maid secretly rejoiced, thinking she had finally managed to keep him there. She planned to claim credit promptly once Jiang Qianxia woke up, lest someone else snatch the recognition. However, Situyu glanced at the time and suddenly stood up. While the maid was stunned, Situyu took a deep breath and slowly said, "I have a morning meeting." He closed the tablet playing the news with one hand, grabbed his coat with the other, and strode out. At the door, he turned back, his gaze sweeping over the maid who seemed hesitant to speak. Pausing for a moment, he reminded, "Keep it quiet, don't disturb her sleep." Before the words had even faded, he strode out of the villa. The maid stood frozen in place. It wasn't until the roar of a car engine came from outside that she slowly came to her senses, exchanging incredulous glances with the other maids nearby. Could it be that the young master spent the night with a madam? 1 hour later, Jiang Qianxia tossed and turned on the bed. Finally unable to bear it any longer, she kicked off the blanket and got up sluggishly. Last night's accident caused her insomnia, and after barely falling asleep, she dreamed of a romantic drama plot. Because of that kiss, she and Situyu fell in love with one kiss, followed by a series of embarrassing scenarios where she played hard to get and he pursued her. The dream became increasingly absurd, and Jiang Qianxia was finally awakened by her biological clock, feeling completely uncomfortable. After waking up, she lay in bed questioning her life for a full half hour. She couldn't bring herself to look Situyu in the eye, so she decided to stall and wait for him to leave the villa before getting up. Unable to fall back asleep and feeling hungry, she could only get up to check if he had left. After washing up, Jiang Qianxia pressed her ear against the door to listen carefully. Discovering that the soundproofing was excellent, she couldn't hear a thing. She cautiously opened the door a crack and was surprised to find it completely quiet outside, even quieter than when she usually gets up. There were no low murmurs from the maids, nor the sounds of cleaning. She ran to the window and found that the maid who watered the flowers in the garden downstairs every morning was absent this time. Jiang Qianxia blinked curiously, feeling puzzled, and went downstairs to check. At the staircase entrance, she noticed that there was no sign of Situyu in the living room, only 2 maids tiptoeing around. She let out a sigh of relief, leaned on the railing, and asked, "What are you doing?" Seeing Jiang Qianxia wake up, the 2 maids immediately dropped their cautious demeanor and said excitedly, "Madam, you're finally up." Jiang Qianxia felt puzzled. Why did these 2 maids look like they'd taken stimulants, their eyes full of anticipation? Could it be that person delivering milk again? Frightened, she quickly looked toward the spot where the milk had been piled before. Only after confirming it was completely empty did she breathe a sigh of relief. Ahem, she cleared her throat, and as she walked downstairs, she asked softly, "Has that person left?" The 2 maids exchanged a glance, a hint of regret in their eyes, then comforted her. "The young master just left. He specifically instructed us to keep our voices down so as not to disturb your rest." What? Jiang Qianxia froze in her movements, puzzled. Could it be that she was still stuck in a dream from a soap opera? One of the maids, thinking she was upset, quickly looked up to explain. "Originally, the young master even asked when you would wake up, wanting to have breakfast with you, but there was a last-minute morning meeting, so he left without even having breakfast." Jiang Qianxia's eyes widened, growing more and more confused as she listened. She couldn't imagine that such gentle words could come from the cold and indifferent face of Situyu. In her dream, the deeply affectionate version of Situyu from a romantic drama suddenly appeared and gently said, "Sleep a little longer." In an instant, Jiang Qianxia's hair stood on end. She shook her head, tossing that incongruous image out of her mind, and quickly walked downstairs. Seeing the maids once again showing the congratulatory expressions they had on the day they delivered the milk, Jiang Qianxia secretly took a deep breath and tried her best to ignore their gazes. "Serve the meal, I'm hungry." The maids immediately immediately sprang into action. Since they didn't know when Jiang Qianxia would wake up, breakfast had been prepared for her all along, and as a result, she was able to eat a steaming hot breakfast within a minute. At this moment, she noticed that the maid responsible for watering the flowers had finally gone to water them. She glanced at the time, 8:15. Normally, she would get up at 7:30, so why was she so late today? But thinking about what the maid had just said, her cheeks flushed slightly, and she suddenly didn't dare to ask anymore. The answer would probably not make her smile. Looking at the water droplets joyfully dancing in the sunlight in the garden outside the window, Jiang Qianxia began to ponder what to do today. There's no work in the entertainment industry recently. Sister Yan just took on a new job, and she doesn't want to disturb her for now. How about streaming for a while? Oh, she suddenly remembered that today is the day Cha-Cha is supposed to fly out freely. She wonders if Cha-Cha followed her advice. Jiang Qianxia decided to check the streaming platform after finishing breakfast. As a result, halfway through breakfast, the villa's main gate was suddenly opened, and a car drove in. The maid saw her lost in thought while eating breakfast and mistakenly assumed she regretted not dining with Situyu. After exchanging surprised glances, they whispered, "Madam, could it be that the young master has returned? This villa only has 3 owners, and the young master has gone back to the old residence, so the person returning is probably the master." Jiang Qianxia stuffed a mouthful of breakfast into her mouth. Her movement stiffened, and she almost choked. Fortunately, the next second, the maid who had seen the license plate hesitated and corrected herself uncertainly. "It seems to be a car from the old residence. Is it the young master?" Jiang Qianxia breathed a sigh of relief and secretly glanced at the 2 maids beside her, planning to drive them away the next time she had breakfast. Receiving her slightly cold gaze, the 2 maids, realizing they had misspoken, quietly stepped back half a step, not daring to speak again. 2 minutes later, a small figure appeared outside the door. It was Situ Xiaoya. He was wearing his kindergarten uniform, carrying a small backpack, and ran in with his short legs pattering. He headed straight for the living room sofa, then ran to the dining table. Seeing only Jiang Qianxia there, his eyes instantly showed disappointment. Jiang Qianxia noticed his little face was as red as an apple and couldn't help but wonder, who was this little guy in such a hurry to find? Aunt Lu? Just as she was thinking, she met Situ Xiaoya's disappointed gaze. She thought for a moment and explained, "Aunt Lu isn't here." Unexpectedly, after hearing this, Situ Xiaoya stubbornly stood in place, motionless. At this moment, a strange female voice came from outside the door. "He's not looking for Aunt Lu, he's looking for Ayo." Jiang Qianxia's heart tightened. Who? She looked outside the door in confusion, and a woman dressed in luxury brand professional attire walked in. Her gaze precisely locked onto Jiang Qianxia's face, scrutinizing her with a faint smile for a moment before introducing herself with a smile. "Hello, you must be Qianxia, right? My name is Tian Yayun. Ayu should have mentioned me to you, right?" Jiang Qianxia's heart jolted. Huh? From the way the other woman sized her up after entering, Jiang Qianxia immediately sensed a hint of hostility. Originally, she didn't understand why the other party seemed to harbor ill intentions toward her upon their first meeting, but when she heard Situyu's romantic interest, she instantly understood. She tilted her head, sizing up the well-dressed woman. Casually, she steadied Situ Xiaoya, who was trying to climb onto the seat next to her. Then, she shook her head at Tian Yayun and said coldly, "Sorry, never heard of it." Tian Yayun, however, did not show any embarrassment. Instead, her smile grew even more pronounced as she looked at Jiang Qianxia in surprise. "Ah, sorry, I thought Ayu would tell you everything." As she spoke, she seemed to realize she had misspoken and quickly corrected herself. "When you 2 got married, I had already gone abroad, so I didn't have the chance to congratulate you on your wedding." While speaking, Tian Yayun had been observing Jiang Qianxia's reaction and found that the other party never showed the expression she had anticipated, leaving her puzzled. Does she really not care at all? Tian Yayun restrained her smile, her gaze falling on Situ Xiaoya, who had naturally climbed onto the seat beside Jiang Qianxia. A shadow flickered in her eyes. Seeing Jiang Qianxia call someone to fetch a tray for Situ Xiaoya, she immediately spoke up to stop her. "Miss Jiang, Xiaoya has already had breakfast. He can't eat again, or he'll get indigestion." After saying this, she walked over and lifted Situ Xiaoya down from the dining chair. Situ Xiaoya looked at her expressionlessly. Tian Yayun, however, was completely unaware, showing a loving smile and gently coaxing, "Xiaoya, we just had breakfast, remember? You can't eat again, or your stomach will hurt." Jiang Qianxia saw the maternal glow radiating from Tian Yayun and instantly understood her intention. Is this her wanting to be the little one's new stepmother? Hearing his stepmother's voice, Situ Xiaoya turned to glance at her, then turned back to look at Tian Yayun, who was gently coaxing him. Noticing that she showed no reaction to his stepmother's words, a thought struck him, and he realized he had once again heard his stepmother's inner voice. He pondered for a moment, then took a step back, withdrawing from Tian Yayun's embrace. Tian Yayun's smile froze slightly. Wasn't it said that Ayu's wife didn't have a good relationship with Xiaoya? She felt puzzled and her gaze fell on Situ Xiaoya again, only to see him suddenly take small steps toward Jiang Qianxia. Watching the warm scene of Situ Xiaoya snuggling beside Jiang Qianxia, Tian Yayun's breath slightly hitched. Situ Xiaoya was not an easy child to get along with. His inner world was completely different from other children, focused on his own little universe, and extremely indifferent to external stimuli. While studying abroad, Tian Yayun had specifically taken a minor in autism child psychology, all for this child. However, her efforts now seemed like a joke. Despite her best attempts to please this little master, at most, she could exchange 10 sentences for a single glance in response, which was already closer to him than most people could get. But now, she discovered that Situ Xiaoya's attention on Jiang Qianxia was astonishingly high. Even though Jiang Qianxia hadn't done anything special to attract his attention, his gaze remained fixed on her. A trace of doubt flashed in Tian Yayun's eyes as she stared at Jiang Qianxia, who appeared completely indifferent, and thought to herself, did she really do nothing? If it weren't for Aunt Zhu's unease about her, she wouldn't have brought him back to the old house when Xiaoya's nanny was absent. At this moment, a maid walked over carrying a plate of food. Jiang Qianxia noticed the complex expression on Tian Yayun's face, but she didn't care. What she had said earlier made sense. Such a young child indeed shouldn't eat too much, right? With that in mind, Jiang Qianxia gestured gestured for the maid to take the plate away. But just as she lowered her head, she unexpectedly found Situ Xiaoya standing by the dining table, which was taller than him, looking up at her with wide, starry eyes. He was staring intently at her bowl, as if it contained not just steamed egg custard, but some kind of rare delicacy. At that moment, the little one forgot all about manners, scrambled onto the dining chair, picked up the small spoon brought by the maid, placed it in front of himself, and obediently lifted his chin, ready to eat. His quiet and well-behaved appearance showed no trace of the earlier mess, but Jiang Qianxia could tell at a glance that he was truly anxious. She couldn't help but laugh and turn to the maid, put a little bib on him. Then she bent down to negotiate with the little one. You had breakfast today, right? If you want to eat, you can only have a taste, okay? Unexpectedly, Situ Xiaoya stared blankly into her smiling eyes, blinked lightly, and slowly extended his chubby little hand to make a peace gesture. Jiang Qianxia was momentarily stunned, then quickly reacted. You want to take 2 bites? The little one's beautiful eyes immediately curved into a smile, nodding heavily. Jiang Qianxia felt a warmth in her heart and curled her lips into a smile. Alright. Tian Yayun, unable to hold back any longer, fixed her gaze on Sidong Xiaoya, who was sitting beside Jiang Qianxia and happily swinging his little feet. Her tone was slightly firm. Miss Jiang, I know you want to please Xiaoya, but he's still so young and can't judge what's good for himself. You can't neglect his health just to cater to him. Her words did not carry a tone of reproach. They seemed more like a gentle suggestion. However, Jiang Qianxia acted as if she hadn't heard, casually, taking Sidong Xiaoya's mini spoon, scooping out 2 spoonfuls of egg custard into the little one's bowl, and then began enjoying her meal without a care. Sidong Xiaoya silently pursed his lips, his gaze shifting back and forth between Jiang Qianxia's large spoon and his own mini spoon. Finally, he lowered his eyes and quietly started eating. The little one's eating posture, while clumsy in a way unique to children, also carried a touch of elegance, making it pleasing to watch. After finishing her meal, Jiang Qianxia looked up at Tian Yan. Tian Yan's face was flushed red with anger due to the earlier disregard. The Tian family status was no less than that of the Sidong family, and she was a prominent heiress in the social circle, never having encountered someone who showed her such disrespect. She took a deep breath, suppressed her anger, and forced a smile as she said, I heard Miss Jiang was only brought back home at 18. Were you living in the countryside before that? Jiang Qianxia curiously observed Tian Yayun, who appeared calm on the surface but was undoubtedly turbulent inside. She was very beautiful, with an elegant demeanor, and definitely the ideal daughter-in-law in the eyes of wealthy families. However, the essential skills for being an ideal daughter-in-law likely included endurance and navigating family conflicts. Jiang Qianxia mimicked Tian Yayun's gaze and looked back, secretly deciding, it's better to get divorced sooner rather than later. Otherwise, dealing with the affairs of a wealthy family would be truly troublesome. She sighed inwardly, her eyes locking onto the battle-ready Tian Yayun. Miss Tian, may I ask in what capacity you are speaking to me? Tian Yayun didn't expect her to endure so well. When the awkward part of her background was brought up, her expression didn't change in the slightest, which made Tian secretly raise her threat level. She put away her smile and was about to mention her connection with the Situ family. Could it be that you're the new nanny? Jiang Qianxia asked sincerely, her tone tinged with doubt. Tian Yayun froze, looking at Jiang Qianxia in disbelief. Her first reaction was to find a mirror to check if there was something wrong with her makeup, making her look too old. But when she met Jiang Qianxia's indifferent almond-shaped eyes, she instantly realized that the other party was deliberately retaliating against her. She had thought Jiang Qianxia didn't care, but unexpectedly, Tian Yayun laughed in exasperation. Feeling elated, she believed she had hit a sore spot. Since you said Au never mentioned me, let me introduce myself. Au, brother Yunxiao, and I grew up together. Between Au and me, she deliberately paused, putting on an indifferent expression. We're like siblings. After speaking, she noticed that Jiang Qianxia seemed to have lost her sharpness, completely unaware of the subtle ambiguity in her words. Her mood suddenly became a bit stifled. She tucked her hair behind her ear, her gaze falling on the small patch of lilies outside the window, and remarked, back when Au got married, in such a rush, I didn't have time to come back. Now that I've finally returned to settle down, I wanted to see what Au's wife is like today. After speaking, she turned her head nostalgically and said, as if unintentionally, Au still remembers planting lilies. I used to like them very much. Between the lines, she secretly observed Jiang Qianxia's expression, only to feel disappointed once again. At this moment, she couldn't determine whether this woman truly didn't understand or was just deeply pretending. Is there really a woman who can hear about another woman having a deeper relationship with her husband and remain completely unmoved? She didn't believe it. It was definitely an act. Tian Yayun felt secretly pleased. No matter, there was plenty of time in the future. She walked over to Sidong Xiaoya, squatted down as if exhausted, and said softly, alright, Xiaoya, we should head to the kindergarten now. If we don't leave soon, we'll be late. She reached out to take Sidong Xiaoya's hand, only to be surprised when he actually avoided her touch. She looked on in disbelief as Situ Xiaoya directly walked toward Jiang Qianxia, who was about to leave, and grabbed her hand. Jiang Qianxia was stunned as well. Remembering that she was still nominally the stepmother of the little one, she lowered her head and curiously asked, is there something wrong? You don't want to go to school? Situ Xiaoya struggled to lift his little head and shook it. Jiang Qianxia blinked slightly, feeling puzzled. Situ Xiaoya gazed at Jiang Qianxia's expression and tentatively tugged at her with his small hand, leading her outside. Realizing his intention, Jiang Qianxia helplessly followed him for 2 steps. You want me to take you to kindergarten? As soon as the words were spoken, ding, the child's clear laughter lit up the air as if enhanced by special effects. Unexpectedly, in the next second, Jiang Qianxia mischievously stopped in her tracks, tilted her head, and looked at him. But if I take you to kindergarten, aren't you afraid I'll eat you? Her words came out of nowhere, filled with a playful tone. Situ Xiaoya's reaction surprised her a little. Just 2 days ago, he had been so scared of her that he crawled all over the ground, but now he seemed to have grown somewhat fond of her. Situ Xiaoya froze for a moment upon hearing this, then slowly tilted his head, let go of her hand, and ran off in a certain direction with his little short legs. Tian Yayun's pupils shrank, and disregarding her previous embarrassment, she anxiously glanced at Jiang Qianxia and blurted out, Miss Jiang, how could you scare scare him like that. After speaking, she hurriedly chased after him, but stopped halfway in surprise, because Sidong Xiaoya had already run to the refrigerator, standing on tiptoe, trying hard to reach for something. Walking over with curiosity, Tian Yayun saw him struggling to raise his little hands, attempting to grab a small carton of milk. She stepped forward to help him take it down and found it was an entire pack. Just as she was about to break off a small box for him, Sidong Xiaoya warily stretched out his little hands, defensively snatching the whole pack of milk and holding it tightly in his arms. Tian Yayun was stunned for a moment, then gently explained, "You can't drink too much milk. How about I give you just one small box? Or are you planning to share it with other kids?" However, Sidong Xiaoya didn't respond at all. Struggling to hold the milk, he reached out to close the refrigerator door, then ran off with a pitter-patter. Tian Yayun laughed and chased after him, but then froze in place. She saw Situ Xiaoya cautiously protecting the little milk carton in his arms, running up to Jiang Qianxia and placing the milk in her hands as if presenting a treasure. Jiang Qianxia hadn't expected this outcome either. She had originally thought she had accidentally scared the little guy again and was regretting it in her heart, but instead, she was handed a carton of milk. She had a faintly absurd guess in her mind. Could the little guy still think I might eat him? And then he offered up his own rations to shut my mouth so he'd be safe? Well, he really is a clever little rascal. Situ Xiaoya's eyes sparkled brightly as he happily held Jiang Qianxia's hand, secretly pressed his head against the back of her hand, and slowly led her outside. Jiang Qianxia helplessly looked at the small carton of milk in her hand. No choice. I can only send him to kindergarten. Watching the intimate figures of the big and small ones walking away, the faintly perceptible gazes of the maids around made Tian Yan feel a wave of shame, her blood surging, and an unprecedented sense of humiliation enveloping her. She took a deep breath, trying hard to suppress the displeasure in her heart, and chased after them. However, in the car, Tian Yan was once again dumbfounded. Situ Xiaoya actually wanted to sit in Jiang Qianxia's lap and even have her feed him milk. At first, when she saw Situ Xiaoya trying to hand the milk to Jiang Qianxia, she breathed a slight sigh of relief. However, having learned from past experiences, she didn't want to embarrass herself in front of Jiang Qianxia, so she remained silent. It wasn't until she noticed Situ Xiaoya focusing intently on the milk that she affectionately glanced at his small profile, then turned to Jiang Qianxia and asked, "Miss Jiang, how much do you know about autism?" Jiang Qianxia caught sight of Situ Xiaoya diligently trying to remove the straws from the milk cartons one by one, and a faint sense of unease arose in her heart. Thus, when she heard Tian Yayun speaking, she only responded perfunctorily with a while her gaze remained fixed on the little one's actions. Sure enough, Situ Xiaoya really wanted to insert all the straws. She hurriedly reached out to stop him, but was held back by Tian Yayun. Tian Yayun smiled faintly and gently yet firmly explained, "Xiaoya is a rather rare genius child with autism. He was born intelligent, and when he is focused on his own world, it's best not to disturb him." As she spoke, she noticed Jiang Qianxia looking at her with a disapproving expression. Confident in her own professional expertise, Tian Yayun didn't take it to heart and continued explaining, "Miss Jiang, please trust my expertise. I minored in autism child psychology at Stanford. If you don't believe me, you can ask AO." Jiang Qianxia withdrew her hand and tugged at the corner of her mouth. "I believe you." Then she looked to the side. Although she had received the answer she wanted, Tian Yayun still felt that something was off. Following Jiang Qianxia's gaze, she saw that Situ Xiaoya had already successfully inserted all 4 straws. Immediately, she displayed a proud expression on his behalf and then turned to Jiang Qianxia. "Miss Jiang, you see, I told you Xiaoya is very smart and doesn't need to be disturbed." Jiang Qianxia couldn't help but sigh and roll her eyes. "You're right." Then, she quickly reached out and held the little one who was trying to climb into her arms. Having just rejected his hug, she felt a sense of alertness when she saw him inserting the straws into the milk. Sure enough, he was trying to use service to exchange for a hug again. As soon as the little one got close, 4 straws poked straight at her mouth. Meeting his stubborn gaze, Jiang Qianxia understood that there was no way to get through today without accepting his flattery. So she casually took a sip and perfunctorily said, "All right, thank you. Deal done." Although her attitude was very casual, Situ Xiaoya was grinning from ear to ear, holding the milk and snuggling into her fragrant embrace. From time to time, he would dutifully hold up the milk to feed her a few sips. On the side, Tian Yayun was so angry that the blood vessels on her cheeks were about to burst. Her face turned red with shame as she finally understood the meaning behind Jiang Qianxia's earlier look. While they were playing their mother-son transaction game, she had been showing off her knowledge nearby. Jiang Qianxia had probably long regarded her as a clown. Moreover, the driver from the Situ family's old residence was sitting in the front. If word got back, how could she face anyone? Tian Yayun felt completely out of sorts. Finally, amidst her awkward and restless silence, the car arrived at the kindergarten entrance. Whatever plans she originally had, she abandoned them all. As soon as she got out of the car, she couldn't wait even a second longer and hastily entrusted Situ Xiaoya to Jiang Qianxia, claiming she had something urgent to attend to before quickly leaving. Jiang Qianxia couldn't help but stifle a laugh, deliberately making it obvious. "Oh, okay." Then, seeing Tian Yayun's even more embarrassed expression, she was secretly delighted. This elegant heiress from a wealthy family looked as if she wished she could sprint away in her high heels. Jiang Qianxia couldn't hold back and burst out laughing. This Tian Yayun, truly amusing. Just as she was thinking about this, she noticed the little one secretly following her with a smile. Jiang Qianxia didn't know that the little one could hear her inner thoughts. She simply thought he was imitating her, but he was truly adorable. She patted his head and led him toward the kindergarten teacher she had met just yesterday. The teacher saw Jiang Qianxia bringing Situ Xiaoya again and greeted her with a smile. "Situ's mom, Situ really likes you." Jiang Qianxia thought she was just being polite and responded with an awkward laugh. "Haha, really?" As she spoke, she took the carton of milk from Situ Xiaoya's hand, opened a box she hadn't tried before, handed it back to him, then entrusted him to the teacher and turned to leave. She didn't know that after she left, Situ Xiaoya stood in place holding the teacher's hand, watching her get into the car. He kept watching until the car was out of sight, then slowly raised the small milk carton and took a sip. His eyes sparkled as he softly said to the teacher, "Mom." On the way home, Jiang Qianxia received a message from Shanqing. Her package was arriving today, and she should keep an eye out for it. Her heart stirred, and she happened to want to ask Shanqing about Lu Ma's son's situation. So, she shared the information she had heard from the maid and the connections she had deduced from Lu Ma's facial features. Not long after, Shanqing directly called her via voice chat. "It's possession by a ghost," he said decisively. "After all these years, they're still lingering in the world. If they haven't turned into vengeful spirits fueled by resentment, then it can only mean those two children don't realize they're already dead." Jiang Qianxia was slightly startled. "You mean, those two little ghosts following the person who caused their deaths isn't out of hatred?" Shanqing shook his head, his tone serious. "No, it's not that simple. Every grievance has its source, every debt its debtor. They're following the person who caused their deaths as instinct." Then, he emphasized his tone. "Moreover, those two little ghosts have survived in the world for so many years. Their strength has long surpassed that of ordinary vengeful spirits. They are extremely dangerous. Once they realize they are dead, they will immediately transform into powerful vengeful spirits, and with that transformation comes their vengeful spirit abilities." Jiang Qianxia's heart trembled. "So, you mean they will harm others?" Shanqing sighed. "That's right. The stronger the vengeful spirit, the more they lose their sanity. Once they transform into vengeful spirits, they will have only one thought in their minds: revenge. Even if they kill all their enemies, they won't stop. Because once a vengeful spirit sees blood, their resentment will turn into murderous energy, becoming a killing spirit. Killing spirits are driven solely by the desire to kill, losing all reason. If captured, at best, they will suffer punishment in the 18th level of hell. At worst, their souls will be utterly destroyed." He paused slightly, his gaze revealing a hint of concern. "Daoist Ji Qian, you are soft-hearted. Earlier, when I asked if you needed help, you said no because you wanted them to take revenge themselves, right?" Jiang Qianxia remained silent, but she didn't feel she was being soft-hearted. Just as Shanqing had said, every grievance has its perpetrator, and every debt its debtor. She believed that Lu Ma, having killed someone, being haunted by a ghost, and even being killed by one, was only fair. On the contrary, the revenge of those two little ghosts came at too great a cost and could even harm the innocent. She couldn't help but sigh. Is there no other way? Shanqing sensed her thoughts, and his heart stirred as he also let out a sigh. Actually, people in the Shan sect also have methods to subdue vengeful spirits. Some even keep ghost attendants. The condition for signing a contract with a ghost attendant is to help the ghost resolve its grievances. He briefly explained the methods for subduing vengeful spirits. First, using the techniques of the Shan sect requires immense strength. Simply put, before the vengeful spirit personally kills its enemy and loses its sanity, one must stop it, suppress it, and force it to submit. However, if suppression is purely through brute force, some vengeful spirits will retaliate, preferring to dissipate into nothingness rather than become a ghost attendant. Usually, when practitioners of the mystical arts want to subdue ghost attendants, they will, for safety reasons, sign some kind of contract with the vengeful spirit in advance. For example, the practitioner helps the vengeful spirit seek revenge and prevents it from shedding more blood. In exchange, the vengeful spirit must serve as a ghost attendant for 5 years, 10 years, or even longer. The second method is to take a worldly approach. Simply put, it involves overturning the case and ensuring the vengeful spirit's enemy gets the punishment they deserve. However, this also risks the vengeful spirit turning against them, such as when the resentment is too strong and it believes the legal punishment is insufficient. After hearing Xuanqing's words, Jiang Qianxia's eyes flickered. Then, Daoist Shanqing, are you interested in taking on 2 little ghost attendants? Shanqing was momentarily stunned, then explained, my sect has a rule that no disciple is allowed to take on ghost attendants, but I do know the method. If Daoist Qiqian wants to use the first method, I can help you. Jiang Qianxia recalled the appearance of those 2 frail children. Since they were unaware of their own deaths, they weren't frightening. However, to have them follow her, she couldn't help but shiver. Terrifying. She asked softly, can we let them take their revenge and then send them down? She thought that Shanqing, as the future leader of the Shan sect, should have a way to contact some kind of ghost messenger. Sure enough, Shanqing paused for a moment and said, it is indeed possible. Then, he couldn't help but add, however, Daoist Qiqian, if you don't wish to join a metaphysical sect for cultivation, these 2 powerful ghost attendants could still become strong allies for you in the future. The current metaphysical world is not so peaceful. Given Xuanqing's integrity, it was already commendable for him to subtly express his thoughts. Jiang Qianxia felt grateful in her heart, but she still decided not to accept the matter of the little ghosts. That sense of terror made it impossible for her to make up her mind, so she shook her head and refused. No need. Seeing Jiang Qianxia refuse, Shanqing did not continue to persuade her but instead told her that he would immediately book a flight to come over. The 2 little ghosts had already injured Aunt Lu. Jiang Qianxia only knew that she had been hospitalized, but the specifics of her injuries were unclear. Shanqing frowned deeply and said in a serious tone, if blood has already been shed, they are likely to act soon. Jiang Qianxia took a slight breath and firmly replied, alright, I'll pick you up at the airport then. After finishing their discussion, the car happened to drive into the villa. Jiang Qianxia put away her phone and noticed Uncle Lu's pale face staring at her. Jiang Qianxia's heart tightened. Oh no, she had been so engrossed in her conversation with Shanqing that she completely forgot there was a driver present. Just as she was racking her brain to come up with an excuse, Uncle Lu spoke. Why, young madam, did Aunt Lu really cause the deaths of her 2 stepchildren? And they turned into vengeful ghosts following her? Uncle Lu's face showed anticipation, his eyes complex. Jiang Qianxia's eyes shifted, a spark of inspiration flashed, and she thought of a new opportunity. Uncle Lu had been a driver for the Situ family for so many years, so he must have some connections in the elite circles. She cleared her throat lightly and said seriously, yes. Uncle Lu widened his eyes in surprise. So, Aunt Lu was really sent to the hospital by that. Jiang Qianxia nodded, her tone firm. Uncle Lu took a deep breath, glanced around, and said in a low voice, so, young madam, you really know how to read fortunes? Jiang Qianxia nodded, her gaze sweeping over Uncle Lu's facial features, and slowly said, you have an elderly mother back in your hometown who is currently living with your elder brother, but she wants to come and find you, right? Driver Old Lu froze, staring at Jiang Qianxia in shock. He left his hometown decades ago and always claimed to be an orphan, never revealing anything about his wife or children. However, Jiang Qianxia continued, a mother without kindness, a son without filial piety. Since childhood, your mother favored your elder brother, even driving you away for his sake. But now that she's old and your elder brother is unfilial, she has turned to you, hasn't she? As she spoke, Jiang Qianxia carefully examined Old Lu's features, resting her chin in thought. Let me see, your mother has been looking for you for 12 years now, hasn't she? When Jiang Qianxia even mentioned the exact time, Old Lu's pupils contracted, then he seemed to think of something. Excitedly, he leaned closer to Jiang Qianxia and asked mysteriously, young madam, besides fortune-telling, you can also catch ghosts, right? Jiang Qianxia rolled her eyes and firmly answered, yes. Upon receiving a definite answer, a glimmer of light flashed in Old Lu's eyes, but he quickly realized Jiang Qianxia's status, and his smile froze instantly. Jiang Qianxia immediately noticed Old Lu's emotions, secretly delighted, and warmly invited him into the villa to discuss the matter in detail. Old Lu hesitated to speak, but in the end, he followed Jiang Qianxia into the reception room with a slightly restrained demeanor. Jiang Qianxia gestured for the maid to serve water. After they left, she looked directly at the conflicted Old Lu. Uncle Lu, go ahead. Seeing her so composed, Old Lu gradually firmed up his resolve and finally gritted his teeth to spill the matter. Young madam, to be honest, I don't mind if you laugh at me. In my family, it's just me and my elder brother. He's 3 years older than me, but I've been taking care of the household since I was young and working harder. Speaking of this, Old Lu's expression turned slightly gloomy, but my mom was partial to my brother. The memories from years ago still left him feeling bitter. I was chosen by the factory director to stay, a rare and great opportunity, all because I wanted to venture out. But when his mom found out, she conspired with relatives to keep him in the countryside, taking his brother to see the factory director, claiming it was all his brother's teaching and that his brother would do better in the factory. The factory director, upon hearing this, immediately decided to let both brothers join the factory, but his mom forced him to kneel, putting filial piety above all else. Helpless, he compromised and missed the opportunity. As a result, his older brother caused trouble and was kicked out not long after entering the factory, and Old Lu's opportunity was wasted in vain by his biased mother. However, his mother and older brother felt no guilt and instead began to exploit him. Fortunately, by a twist of fate, he caught the wave of the reform and opening up era. Although he lacked a business mind, he followed a boss and, by sheer luck, built the first building in the village. But not long after, his older brother caused trouble again and was expelled from the factory. Using his brother's marriage as an excuse, his mother seized his house. She even targeted his boss, and while he was out, she placed a large order with the boss in his name, resulting in his brother losing everything. When he returned home, Old Lu was faced with a mountain of debt. The big boss considered it his own mistake and decided not to demand repayment from him, but Old Lu felt uneasy and ultimately handed over the money he had to the big boss. When his mother found out, she went to the big boss to cause trouble, forcing him to no longer be able to continue his business. Later, the big boss relocated due to business development and, appreciating his character, invited him to go along. However, his mother caused another scene, forcing him to stay home. Unexpectedly, she kept him around for the money he had earned over the years, as his brother was getting married and the bride price was exorbitantly high. After learning that Old Lu had compensated the big boss, his fiancée immediately broke off the engagement. His mother and elder brother resented him, blaming him for not saving money, which led to his brother being unable to marry. In the end, his mother drove him out of the house he had built, leaving him penniless. Young madam, to be honest, during my hardest times, I really slept under a bridge. Speaking of the past, Old Lu's eyes reddened, and his resolute face revealed deep sorrow. I swore that in this lifetime, whether I starve to death outside or become successful, I would never set foot in my hometown again. I changed my name and claimed to have no parents, saying I was an orphan. Later, I met a wife who didn't look down on me, along with my father-in-law and mother-in-law. My daughter was born. I thought I could finally escape that small village, but I really didn't expect it. My mother is so vicious. She sucked my blood to give to my brother, and now, for money, she's arranged a ghost marriage for my daughter. He suddenly knelt down and cowed out heavily. Young madam, Old Lu, am truly powerless. I beg you to save my daughter. All my savings over the years can be given to you, though I know it's far from enough. From now on, Old Lu, am willing to serve you like an ox or a horse to repay you. Jiang Qianxia could see his facial features, but the details were hard to capture. Just as she was lost in thought, Old Lu suddenly knelt down and cowed out fiercely, startling her. She quickly stepped aside to avoid his kneeling posture, set down her teacup, and cleared her throat lightly. Old Lu, get up first. However, Old Lu, deeply concerned for his daughter, was completely unmoved. His eyes reddened as he pleaded anxiously, I know, you look down on my meager offerings, but I truly have no other choice. My daughter is pregnant. Please, I beg you to help me. Jiang Qianxia sighed softly. I never said I wouldn't help you. Get up first. Your granddaughter will be fine. She will be born safely. In truth, when she discerned Old Lu's facial features, she had already foreseen his familial fate. The granddaughter could not be kept. The reason she told him she could catch ghosts was because she remembered Xianqing was on his way. With Xuanqing's pure and kind nature, helping to catch a ghost is simply a piece of cake. As for her saying she can do it, it's not exactly lying, right? She can't do it now, but she will in the future. As a result, just Just after she said she could catch ghosts, she found that old Lu's granddaughter was completely unharmed. This is truly strange. However, on second thought, Jiang Qianxia understood in her heart. This turning point was truly her credit. After learning that his granddaughter was safe, old Lu's face lit up with joy, but then he froze. You said granddaughter? You can tell the gender of my daughter's unborn child just by looking at me? Jiang Qianxia nodded gently. Yes, is there a problem? Old Lu took a sharp breath, looking at Jiang Qianxia with unwavering belief and pleading in his tone. When would it be convenient for you? He said worriedly, my daughter is at home right now and doesn't dare to go out. There's a consecrated Buddha statue at home, which keeps that thing from coming in, but we don't know how much longer it can hold. She's been having constant nightmares these past 2 days. Xianqing can come today, but it seems we'll have to resolve Lu Ma's matter first. Jiang Qianxia rested her chin in her hand, pondering for a moment. How about this? Come over later, I'll give you something first, but the specific handling might have to wait until tomorrow. Upon hearing that it could only be done tomorrow, Uncle Lu initially felt a bit disappointed, but he immediately remembered that Jiang Qianxia was going to give him something, and he quickly nodded, gratefully saying, thank you, young madam, I'll go back and prepare right away. After speaking, Uncle Lu stood up excitedly. Jiang Qianxia watched him leave and quickly took out her phone to send Xianqing the details about Uncle Lu's daughter. Unfortunately, Xianqing was probably on a plane and couldn't reply promptly. Actually, Uncle Lu's daughter didn't seem to have been replaced by a ghost marriage, as her marriage line showed only her husband. However, Jiang Qianxia wasn't entirely sure about this. Perhaps she couldn't see the marriage line of a ghost husband. The specifics would have to wait until Xianqing arrived. Jiang Qianxia stretched lazily, took a walk in the garden for a while, and then returned to her room. She thought about that Cha-Cha Fang Xinfei, who hadn't contacted her for the past 2 days. This was the 3rd day. If she hadn't believed in herself before, today she probably had no choice but to believe. Jiang Qianxia logged into her live streaming account, and the backend still showed 99+ in popularity. She didn't have the habit of inviting trouble, so she habitually cleared everything with one click and then checked the account Cha-Cha fly freely. She sighed and opened the live streaming room. It didn't take long for the haters to show up as expected, but this time there were actually a few genuine viewers. Ms. Turtle Lady, are you still doing fortune telling on the live stream today? Pick me. Ms. Wang, hey, you up front, looking for trouble? How about I pick you instead? My whip skills are great. As Jiang Qianxia was pondering which 2 audience members to pick, the screen suddenly exploded with a series of dazzling special effects. Cha-Cha Rest Assured Fly has sent 10 spaceships in this live broadcast room, followed by colorful bold text. Pick me. The spaceship is the most expensive gift on this live streaming app, costing 3,000 yuan each, 10 of them amounting to 30,000. In an instant, whether it was the trolling haters or the viewers shouting to be picked, everyone fell silent. But Cha-Cha Fang Xinfei didn't stop, sending out 10 spaceships in a row, quickly pushing Jiang Qianxia's livestream to the homepage of the app. New viewers entering from the homepage discovered it was a fortune-telling livestream and were stunned. What is this? A fortune-telling streamer? What kind of divine calculation is this? Or is it just self-promotion? The reward leaderboard has only one person far ahead in first place. Could it be the streamer's alternate account? Seeing that Cha-Cha Rest Assured was about to be suspected as her own alternate account, Jiang Qianxia quickly intervened. Cha-Cha Rest Assured, stop for a moment. I saw your message. However, Cha-Cha Rest Assured remained persistent, continuing to send out 100 space shuttles before finally stopping. After stopping, she didn't connect to the video but instead continued sending colorful bullet comments. I want to meet you. I need your help. From the moment Cha-Cha Fang Xinfei appeared, Jiang Qianxia knew her words had come true, but she hadn't expected Cha-Cha Fang Xinfei to request a meeting. Moreover,